Morning. Meeting of the County Commission will come to order. We're going to start off, as always, with an invocation, and we're pleased today to have Pastor Glenn Wiggins from the Seagate Baptist Church to lead us in a prayer. And immediately following that, we'll have Kim Treadwell will lead us in the, did I say that incorrectly? I'm sorry. Mimi Treadway, I'm sorry, I was reading something else. I apologize. Mimi Treadway will lead us in the pledge. So if you'll please rise.
Let's pray together. Our Father and our God, we thank you for this day you've given us, another day to serve you, another day for these on the commission to serve you and the people of Collier County here in our beautiful city of Naples in the great state of Florida. Lord, I pray today that you would grant these leaders wisdom as they make decisions that will impact the citizens of this community. I ask that you bless each person in authority in this council. Would you enlarge their influence for good? And please, dear God, place a protective shield around them and their families. May everything that's said and done in this meeting be guided by your divine hand and empowered by your presence. Lord, I was thinking about Benjamin Franklin, who once said during the Continental Congress, if a bird cannot fall to the ground without your notice, how can a nation rise without your aid? So, dear God, I pray you guide these men, and I pray that your hand would be upon them. Direct their steps, their thoughts, their words, that all might be done for the good of this community and for the glory of God. Lord, I want to thank you this morning for salvation that's available in and through the Lord Jesus Christ. We pray all this in the name which is above every name, the name of Jesus. Amen. I want to thank all of you commissioners in a great way and for all you've done. And thank you for allowing me to you said I could say something I'd like. And I want you to know we pray for each and every one of you on a weekly basis. And we appreciate what's going on. There's a great resurgence of faith coming back into communities. Of course, we've seen that. Of course, yesterday with the historic peace deal that was brokered over in the Middle East, and I just thank the Lord for what's going on, and thank the Lord for you men as well, and pray for you and all those who serve our great county.
Can it be a daily basis instead of weekly? We might need it. We need daily.
For you, yes, it will be.
I'll take it.
Ms. Treadway.
Flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Pastor, make no mistake. They all need it. They all need it. I know stuff you don't. They all need it.
Mimi has been sending cards to veterans for many, many years, and I want her to spend a few minutes talking about what she does.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My daughter started this program. She's a United States Air Force veteran. She started this program after 2.5+ years at James Haley VA. She became a quadriplegic from an accident. Renee's project was done in our home. Basically, we asked for donated cards, and we sent them to several thousands of veterans in VA hospitals, nursing homes, and clinics, and extra to the hospitals. And like Cape Coral, we'll take gobs over there and they pass them out to everyone. This project was born because Renee was a master yoga instructor, and she was also a meditation trainer. Becoming a quadriplegic, her life she thought was over. She kept asking me, what do I do with the rest of my life, Mom? I said, and I said, that is up to you. That's when she began with this project, Mission Christmas Cards for Veterans. VA hospitals, nursing homes, clinics. Right now we're looking at doing 10 states. The VA, unfortunately my daughter passed away December 25th in 2023, and 2 weeks after she mailed out 11,000 cards. Of course, she was very computer literate. The VA I love the VA. They treated her like gold. They gave her everything she needed to be able to function like a normal person. She was mind over body. It's very intelligent. So anyway, the VFW Auxiliary Post 7721 in Naples took over this project in honor and memory of Renee. And I couldn't be happier, and I know Renee in heaven is probably just so tickled that we continued her program to go on. So hopefully this is, I know I don't have time to talk about a lot of it, but it is a very emotional story, and I have some handouts, and they will be outside, and it'll explain Renee's complete history. And this last one was honoring a legacy in her name. And the next page tells things that how we progress and how we do this project. Thank you, Lois Bolin, for inviting me. And thank you to all the commissioners for allowing me to be here. It's been quite an honor.
And before you leave the podium there, I think she's being a little bit modest. Their goal is to send out 30,000 cards this year. And I go over to the VFW occasionally, and she'll be sitting there at a table filling out cards. When do you start that process each year? Do you start
This is year 2 for the VFW, and Renee did it for 5 years prior. So this is year 2 for the VFW. Last year, I think we got around 20-some thousand out. This year, we're looking at hopefully 30,000 cards. The cards are donated. We had to switch our process a little bit to stamping the inside because writing the inside was just not going to work. So then with the school children, adults, any group in the area that wants to write an index card, this is the last process. They're inserted in the middle. They're closed and sealed with in memory of Renee Wisner. And most of the hospitals know her very, very well. She was at James Haley for years on and off, and she was in Naples Hospital years and years, on and off as a quadriplegic would normally be.
Well, thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Patterson.
Commissioners, agenda changes for October 14th, 2025. First up, we have item 10A to be heard after the proclamations. This is a request the board adopt a resolution expressing support for designating October 14th, 2025 as the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. A couple of agenda notes. A revised interlocal agreement for item 11H was added after the agenda was initially published. A Scrivener's error was found in the purchase contract for item 11B, section 2.01. Instead of stating paid to seller to purchaser, it should state paid to seller by purchaser. Time certain items, as earlier noted, item 10A will be heard directly after the proclamations. Item 11C will be heard at 10 a.m. This is consideration to direct the zoning director to sign the Florida Housing Finance Corporation local government verification. And items 8A and 9A to be heard at 1 p.m. This is the Costco zoning resolution waiver of minimum separation between fuel pump facilities and Hacienda Lakes MPUD amendment to change the PUD. We have court reporter breaks scheduled for 10:30 and again at 2:50. With that, County Attorney.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioners.
Commissioner Colwell.
There's no changes. And have one ex parte, I think 17B on the summary agenda. Other than that.
Commissioner Hall.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I have no changes to the agenda. I do have correspondence and calls on summary agenda 17B, and with that, I would like to just make a comment. I'm not going to oppose this at all, but I do want to make a comment regarding where we're moving in the future, just because I can't talk to y'all without being in the public. 3 years ago, rents were outrageous in this county. And, several of us ran on workforce housing, and we really felt like affordable housing was a noble cause. And so we, with good intentions, we trudged forward with that affordable housing agenda and made some changes to our growth management plan and increased some densities and tried to make it easier for developers to build affordable housing. However, in the beginning, I always said that capitalism always works. You know, prices rise, prices fall. And in 2023 and 2021, or 2020 to 2023, we didn't have the crystal ball, so we didn't know what kind of what kind of capitalism or market corrections might happen. But in going towards smart growth, I don't want to be blinded as well, because even with the good intentions of providing affordable housing, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I just want to bring some awareness of where the market is right now with rents, and I want to just caution us that we don't just go forward blindly approving projects with a small portion of affordable housing that increases density unnecessarily. And the reason why I say that is, since 2023, in the last 3 years, we have approved 37 different zoning actions for housing. 19 of those have had an affordable housing component. So overall, we've approved 8,817 units, of which 3,032 had an affordability component to that. That's 34%. The market rate rents on our income limits for our affordability chart at 100% AMI, which we usually stick somewhere between 80 and 120 is where our ranges fall. At the 100%, a 2-bedroom house, the cap is $2,557 per month. At the 80% mark, it's $2,046. And in doing some market research, there's over 600 and today currently there's over 600 units at less than $2,247. $2,247 is one of the averages that we show in Collier County for a 2-bedroom apartment for rent, which another study shows it's anywhere from $1,600 to that $2,200. But the point is, there's a lot of units out there for rent that are cheaper than the market cap that we set on the affordability rates. And the reason why I bring this up is just so we don't get duped into increasing density unnecessarily, thinking that we're helping the workforce, when in actuality the market's already surpassed our abilities or what we've set up as what we thought would be good. And I just wanted to bring that up so that we don't increase density thinking we're doing one thing when the market's already allowing us the results that we desire anyway.
Thank you for that information. It's very helpful and certainly should give us some guidance as we go forward on these. Commissioner McDaniel.
Good morning, sir. I have no changes, and on 17, also disclosures on meetings, emails, and calls.
Commissioner LaCastro.
I have no changes and no ex parte on summary or consent.
I have no changes. I do have some ex parte on item 17B. With that, need a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that passes unanimously. We have the minutes from the September 4, 2025 meeting. We have the minutes from the June 24, 2025 meeting, and the minutes from September 9th, 2025, and September 18, 2025. Are there any questions or comments on any of those minutes?
Make a motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. That the motion is to approve all of the minutes that I just outlined. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously. We'll move on to proclamations.
Yes, sir. Item 4A is a proclamation designating October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Collier County, to be accepted by Linda Oberhaus, CEO, the Shelter for Abused Women and Children. Congratulations.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Commissioner Saunders and members of the Board of County Commissioners for recognizing National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I've put a card at each of your places so you can see here in Collier County. Last year, there were 1,572 calls to 911 as a result of domestic violence. And if you look on the other side of that card, it's estimated that it's costing our community more than $38 million in medical, law enforcement, and to our local businesses. Domestic violence is an epidemic both across our nation and here in our community, with 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence during their lifetime and 1 in 5 teens experiencing domestic violence as well. We're deeply grateful for the many partnerships that make our life-saving work possible, including our local hospitals, local law enforcement agencies, the clerk's office, and our state attorney's office. Together, we're helping survivors find safety, hope, and healing. For more information about the events we'll be doing during October for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the community can visit our website at naplesshelter.org. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for everything you do.
Appreciate it.
Item 4B is a proclamation designating October 2025 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Collier County, to be accepted by Darren Nevis, President and CEO, Minds Over Tumors. Congratulations.
You're a rock star.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
And Darren, I just want to say something before you speak. Right here, right here. Over
Okay,
here.
I'm sorry.
Listen, this young man reached out to me, really, and all of us. And in the spirit of we're about to present something in remembrance of Charlie Kirk, you're following in those same footsteps. This young man has done more in his short lifetime than maybe all of us in this room, you say almost together. You know, Google him. He is an incredible, inspirational person that took on a challenge and has had some issues, but has turned it into a real positive. And so what you're about to hear out of his mouth and this proclamation that we gave today is all his efforts. And look at this young man. This is the future of our country right here. So I couldn't be more proud of you. Couldn't be more proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning, and really thank you, Commissioner LaCastro, for making this happen, and all of you. As most of you know, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is the previous month of September, but it means more than just a month. No child should have to bear to deal with the cost and a critical illness, and I believe it's something that needs to be recognized past September, past October, and forever. I'm the president and CEO of an organization called Minds Over Tumors that works directly with children here in Southwest Florida diagnosed with brain tumors. And it really started because of my oldest sister, and she's sitting at you here in the second row, and her battle with a brain tumor about 4 years ago. And you could talk about a struggle for my family, but we're really past that, and we're at the point where we're helping other families. And I've been extremely blessed to be able to raise a little bit over $45,000 so far in really the last 3 months to be able to put forth our mission. And I really appreciate everything you guys do for the families in Collier County and all the nonprofits that allow us to operate efficiently. This is only the start, like you said, and we're looking forward to closing this year at a 6-figure year and really start helping out some families. And it is a blessing to be able to do this every day and wake up and come to things like this, and I'm really appreciative for all of your support. And you can find more information at mindsovertumors.org. So once again, I really appreciate it, and thank you all for your time.
Ms. Patterson, I guess we'll take a motion on the proclamations and then go to item 10A.
Yes, sir.
So we need a motion to approve the
I
proclamations.
move to approve those proclamations.
Amen.
Second.
We have a motion and one amen and one second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously. Then we
When-
move on to item 10A.
When he says he's the president and CEO, you Google this young man. He's got pictures with famous people, and he's been all over the place. So it's a real company, and I have no doubt you're going to hit 6 figures and more. So congratulations.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 10A. This is a request that the board adopt a resolution expressing support for designating October 14th, 2025 as a National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. This item is brought to the agenda by Commissioner Kowal, and once we hear this item, Commissioner Kowal has made a request. He has someone that is going to speak after you've heard the item.
Yes, and if it would be, okay, I know there's a couple other people here associated with the Turning Point organization. Maybe they can get a picture with the resolution at the end.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Colwell, Commissioner Colwell, did you have some individual to receive the?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you want to read it or first?
That's entirely up to you. If you want to read it, that's fine. Or Ms. Patterson can read it if that's the
Yes, I
that's your
could
request.
read it if I actually had a
Oh, I'm
copy of
sorry.
it. It's okay.
I have it.
That's
I
caught
don't
me
know
off
if I'm
guard.
capable of reading it.
I feel bad now because I
No,
didn't bring my copy.
It's my fault for not thinking that I was going to read it. I'm sorry.
Commissioner McDaniel, you have a copy of it so you can read it,
I'm reading it right here on our agenda, sir.
but you'll need to read it out loud.
Okay. I will read it out loud. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech, civil dialogue, and faith, and whereas Mr. Kirk consistently promoted the values of individual liberty, open debate, and importance of civic engagement, and the defense of constitutional principles, and whereas Charlie Kirk was recognized as one of the leading, leading voices among young leaders in these United States, creating opportunities for civic education, fostering youth leadership, and promoting principles of liberty and democracy across the United States. And whereas Mr. Kirk founded and served as executive director of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization of chapters across the United States dedicated to educating students about the principles of freedom, free markets, and limited government. And whereas Charlie Kirk authorized multiple national best-selling books that engaged readers in critical conversations about civics, culture, and the United States of America, the future of the United States of America. And whereas through his writings, public speaking, and media presence, Charlie Kirk reached millions of Americans and inspired a generation of young people to participate in civic life and leadership. And whereas Mr. Kirk's outreach and programs brought many young people into the civic arena who otherwise might not have engaged, including students who credit his work with motivating them to form campus organizations, pursue public service, and study civics more deeply. And whereas since his assassination on September 10th, 2025, there has been a notable surge of interest and applications to establish Turning Point chapters and similar civic programs on college campuses, reflecting his continuing influence on youth civic engagement. And whereas Mr. Kirk was widely appreciated for restoring vigorous debate on college campuses and in public life, reminding Americans that disagreement should not preclude conversation, and encouraging citizens to consider differing perspectives in good faith. And whereas, although frequently associated with political debate, Mr. Kirk grounded his public work in moral convictions that he placed above partisanship. Those convictions guided his public advocacy and steered his approach to debate and civic education. And whereas October 14th, today, is Mr. Kirk's birthday, provided as appropriate opportunity for citizens and institutions to commemorate his life and the civic values he advanced. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Collier County, Florida, that joins number one, the board joins in support of a resolution and designates October 14th as the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Number two, the board recognizes Charlie Kirk for his contributions to civic education, public discourse, youth leadership, and moral advocacy. The board encourages educational institutions, civic organizations, and citizens within Collier County and these United States to observe this day with appropriate programs, activities, prayers, and ceremonies that promote civic engagement, respectful debate, and the principles of faith, liberty, and democracy that Mr. Kirk championed. The board commends the work of student leaders and civic organizations who continue to advance the practices of open debate and moral-based civic engagements that Mr. Kirk promoted. This resolution, dated by the majority vote, hopefully today. Signed, Commissioner Saunders as chairman.
Commissioner Colwell, there are probably several people that may want to speak on this, which is appropriate. Do you have some comments before we open it up?
Yeah, I just wanted to really quick this was brought to my, I had multiple people reaching out and just asking, because it was such a tragedy that day and what everybody witnessed and the amount of people that Mr. Kirk, reached out to and touched through his just communication, basically, just his opinions and especially with our future, which is our young people today, and on our college campuses and different places where he would go speak, and he would let people speak, and if you ever you get the opportunity to watch some of these videos, and he would just be fact based. He would bring up facts. He'd tell them, his opinion about the facts and where they lie. And you would see in some of these people's faces how they just realize they've been being duped by, the people they trust. And you can see in their faces that they realize that maybe it's time to start looking at all sides of the subject. Do your own research and be your own person. Just don't be led down the street blindly just because somebody tells you they have an MBA or a master's degree in something, whatever, or they're a professor at some high-ranking college, that they're always right. Everybody has their own opinion about something, and the most educated person is a person who's willing to look into anything on their own first and see the facts that lie out there that sometimes are overlooked. And I think he motivated people to think on their own, and I think that was the biggest thing I saw that Mr. Kirk did on a daily basis. These young people they're like clay. They get molded very easily and duped into thinking certain things one way or the other. And it's on all sides. I'm not trying to make this, one-sided, but reality is that's so important that our youth today stop, take a deep breath, and look at everything they got to deal with in life through their eyes, not through another person's eyes, and truly do their own research in life, because then they come to a better conclusion, I believe, at the end of the day. So I think Mr. Kirk was something that was out there that we haven't seen in a long time. And the sad part, he died because of his opinions. And, I think we lost a treasure moving forward with his thoughts and his ability to communicate, especially on that level with people that, what it's like nowadays with our youth to communicate. It's hard, but he had the ability to do it in an open forum, and I think that's very special. I got an individual here today, Alex. He's standing over here. Alex, why don't you come up to the podium and kind of introduce yourself and tell you what your relationship with Mr. Kirk. And I got several other people in the audience that are associated with the Turning Point. But I think we're just going to try to do a picture at the end, if that's okay. Let Alex speak. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Dan Colwell, for inviting me. Super important. Good morning. My name is Alex Schneider. I'm a dedicated conservative voice in our community. As a former Turning Point Action administrator for their Jace to Vote program up in Wisconsin, I focused on mobilizing voters to secure a victory for President Trump. We gather in grief over the assassination of Charlie Kirk, a key voice in our movement and a personal mentor to me. Charlie and I shared a deep bond professionally through my work with Turning Point, where he guided me in grassroots activism and voter outreach, and personally, as he inspired me to dive deeper into politics and amplify conservative values. Charlie wasn't just an activist, he was a devoted father, loving husband, and mentor to countless other young patriots like myself. We've seen the fire ignited with over 120,000 college and high school chapter applications nationwide in the recent weeks, a testament to the passion he inspired. Now's the time to rise up, but not with violence, but with words. Speak out boldly, use your voice at the ballot box, and honor Charlie by doubling down on our principles. I encourage each and every one of you to get involved with Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action at tpusa.com. Together, we carry Charlie's torch forward. We are Charlie Kirk. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Mr. Miller, anybody else registered to speak in a second? Commissioner Colwell?
I only had Alex actually as a registered speaker.
Then,
Do a picture with her.
absolutely. Anybody else that you want to have come up?
Want to
with
make a
the-
motion?
Motion to accept the
Yeah,
Let's make a motion for.
Can you make it?
you go ahead and
I
make
make
it,
a motion to accept the resolution.
and I'll give another amen.
All in
That
favor
counts.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Yeah, you're another rock star, man. Keep going, keep going.
There's some other folks that we're going to come up
She
with.
waved it off. She's fine.
What do you mean you waved it off? You don't get a wave off.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 7, which is public comments.
We have 2 registered speakers for this item. Your first speaker is Jay Colhagen. He'll be followed by Garrett FX Byrant.
Jay Colligan for the record, 34112. And doing nothing is something I won't do. I'm here today to speak on this stopping of the aerial blanket spraying of dibromine into Collier County. It's the Collier County movement here. On Tuesday, October 28th, many concerned residents will attend the Collier County Mosquito Control meeting to speak out against this aerial blanket spraying of dibromine. What I mean by aerial spraying is what they do, going back and forth hundreds of times. I'm against that. Dibromine is a known toxin that threatens human health, wildlife, and pollinators. Miami-Dade County, which operates one of the largest mosquito control programs in the country, has not used aerial dibromine spraying since 2016. And the entire European Union has banned dibromine due to its health risks. So when you spell dibromine backwards, it literally reads morbid. They don't even try to hide it. We're not asking to stop mosquito control. We're asking to modernize it, use targeted larviciding, new technologies, and focus responsible methods that protect the people, animals, and the environment. We do not consent to neurotoxins raining down over our homes, gardens, and chicken coops. We can control mosquitoes without being carpet bombed with toxins from the sky. Let's do this right. Let's be a little more like Miami-Dade by ending this aerial assault. Amen.
Another amen.
Your next and final speaker for this item is Garrett FX Byrant.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak today. I want to first of all thank Troy Miller. He's the guy that actually converted what I didn't even know what this thing was. It's a thumb drive. I went to Walgreens. I said, I need a thumb drive. What does that look like? Sort of like your thumb is what the lady told me. I said, I want to transfer some pictures of Mildred Hernandez, who I am representing today. Mildred Hernandez is a gopher tortoise. Now, gopher tortoises are upland species. They provide homes for all kinds of other animals. Unfortunately, in the development business that I was in for 50, 60 years, I forget the number because I'm getting old, but the bottom line is that many developments bury their gopher tortoises if the gopher tortoises aren't discovered and marked by the agencies responsible for that. And once the agencies leave, nobody knows what's happening to the gopher tortoises. Now, gopher tortoises moved up the species of special concern. I was working on them getting to be protected like eagles were. They're like very valuable to the environment because they provide homes for 6 other species. The rattlesnakes and now the rainbow snake, they're all occupying tortoise burrows that are down in the ground. And the bottom line is developers are still running them over and still burying them. And when I first came here, we could actually bury our gopher tortoises. And I said, well, what happens if you bury them and they come up and there's a parking lot above them and they can't get out? Well, they'll figure a way. They'll just dig their way out. And they're being buried alive and they're not being protected. And there's many developments that are coming up now that are high density developments that are paving over virtually everything they can. And so in the future, when projects come in front of you, this is the slide. I don't know how to do the other pictures here. We only got one, or there's only one. No kidding. So they did get Mildred Hernandez. That's, if you see in the center of that picture, that's Mildred. Oh, there you go. This is interesting. This is a 97-year-old reptile, hatches 4 babies, becomes the oldest first-time mom of her species. She's a gopher tortoise. She lived in Florida till she was 40 years old, and somebody in Florida sold her to a Philadelphia zoo. And she lived, well, she's 97 now and has 4 babies. They're more important than we are. If you look at the species of us, we don't usually live to be 97 years old and have babies. So I want everybody out there to be specially concerned about the species of the gopher tortoise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should have named her Sarah.
Why? Why?
Sarah had a baby when she was old.
Oh.
Read your Bible there.
You're bringing up the Bible. I got it now. Got to read that book someday. It wasn't in my cell block.
Better start. You're getting old, like you said.
It was in there. We used to hand them out.
Mr. Miller? That's all? All right.
Commissioners, before we move along, let's turn our attention to the back of the room for the Artist of the Month. The October Artist of the Month is Ann McLaughlin, Executive Director of the Collier County Metropolitan Planning Organization. She has a BA in Art Studio and an MA in Architecture from the University of New Mexico. Since moving to Collier County 10 years ago, Ms. McLaughlin has exhibited her art in various invitational shows and currently has 2 paintings on display at the Kapnick Hall at the Naples Botanical Garden. Anne is inspired by lush vegetation, abundant greenery, and bold, bright flowers growing in profusion here in Southwest Florida. Recently, she's discovered the creative possibilities of digital art and is having fun experimenting with what she sees as a contemporary take on an ancient technology involved in printmaking. With that, Commissioners, since we have a 10 o'clock time certain, maybe we can take a couple of our regular agenda items ahead of that while we wait. I'd recommend we start with item 11A. This should be a quick one. This is a recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners, as the ex officio of the governing board of the Collier County Water Sewer District, approve a resolution repealing and replacing resolution number 2023-135 as amended by resolution 2024-212 by modifying the utility project A1 description set forth on Exhibit A to add the Northeast Interim Facilities Program and Wastewater Regional Treatment Plant Expansion reclamation projects as eligible projects to be financed with a loan under the Florida Local Government Finance Commission's pooled commercial paper loan program, and increasing and authorizing the borrowing of a not to exceed principal amount of $50 million to $200 million. This loan is secured by subordinate pledge of and lien on the net revenues of the water and sewer utility system in accordance with the terms of the loan agreement and as provided in the resolution approving such loan. Authorize execution of the loan note or loan notes to evidence such borrowing. Authorize the execution and delivery of other documents as may be necessary to effect such borrowing, and authorize all necessary budget amendments. Mr. Christopher Johnson, your Division Director of Corporate Financial and Management Services, is here to present or answer questions.
All right, first, let me see, are there any registered speakers on this issue? We've all been fully briefed on this. Do we need a presentation or
Move for approval.
we
I'll
have a
second.
motion and a second? Any discussion on that? We're only spending 50 to $200 million, so we should give it about
$50 to 200 million, or
Carry on.
50 million to 200 million.
Carry on.
say low end?
I'm glad we've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Great presentation.
All right, Mr. Donnelly, you can stay right there because we're going to take 11B. This is a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners acting as the ex officio governing board of the Collier County Water Sewer District approve an agreement for sale and purchase of 3910 Domestic Avenue for pump rebuild operations, inventory storage, and personnel accommodation. The total cost for this transaction will not exceed $4,525,000. Mr. Jim Deloney, your department head for public utilities, is here to present or answer questions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Deloney, Public Utilities, for the record. Charlie, if you'd put up the second slide, please. Sir, we're here today to make the following recommendations to the board. I have a briefing prepared, but I'll stand by for your questions in lieu of the briefing, if that's what you prefer, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, again, we've all been briefed on this individually. Are there any questions?
I do have a comment.
Commissioner Hall.
I do have one question. In the current Shirley Street place
Yes, sir.
that we occupy,
Yes,
that
sir.
we've outgrown,
Yes, sir.
do we have any idea of what the market value of Shirley Street is?
No, sir, I do not.
I'd like to find that out.
Yes,
so
sir.
that we could look at selling that property, getting it back on the tax rolls, and perhaps using what that money brings us to go toward the new
Yeah,
purchase.
this, and if I may, sir, I agree. Absolutely. We'd like to get out of that position, place to another position. The problem is, this property is not a substitute. It's not near large enough to accommodate that operation.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I understand.
But I agree with you 100%. We are in pursuit for an alternative location for that particular function, being collections for the wastewater department, as well as moving some assets out of our mercantile location to give us some additional room for our water distribution department. So in conjunction with the plan I briefed you back in July, all this is in motion to do exactly what you said. Shirley Street does play in that worst place in the world to try to get out and take care of utilities. I lose a lot of productivity time just getting on and off Pine Ridge Road or JC Boulevard trying to move forward.
I
east
know,
and
and I'm
west.
probably behind you when you're trying to make that.
Yes, sir,
happen.
you probably are. Yes, sir, you probably are. Thanks your question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, Jim, this is maybe slightly off topic, but it's not. We are so lucky to have you
Thanks, sir.
back here. You know, Ms. Patterson strongly recommended bringing you back here on an interim basis, and in the short time you've been here, I can't overstate how much of a help you've been
Thank you,
to
sir.
me and my district. You know, we've had some emergencies, and you know, you answer emails on a Saturday morning just the same way I write them. You answer phone calls. You've got your staff pointed in a positive direction.
Thank
So I don't care if you're interim or not. I look at you as the guy, and I can see why you were so highly thought of.
Thanks,
you know,
sir.
well before I was ever a commissioner. So keep at it. Keep your folks inspired. There's a lot that's on your plate that sometimes is invisible to the public until something explodes on their street. Then you're the most important guy in the world. But I just wanted to just say thank you,
Thank you, sir.
especially recently over the last few weeks or so. You've been very responsive, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. I've got a great team,
You do.
and I appreciate very
Yeah,
much
and a
those
great
comments,
leader.
and I'll
Thank
take it back to them.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right.
Gig 'em.
Move
Cool.
for approval.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Any registered speakers?
Move for
Do we need a
approval.
motion?
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, we're going to jump down to item 11E because 11D is going to require probably more time than the 15 minutes we have until 10. This 11E is a recommendation to pledge 50% of the funds for acquisition of the Seminole Gulf Railway corridor within Collier County, up to $6,890,830, and provide staff direction on the Trust for Public Lands request of a pledge of 100% of the acquisition costs, up to $13,781,660. Trinity Scott, your department head for Transportation Management Services, is here to present or answer questions.
Good morning.
Good morning. I leave that to the board of whether or not you'd like a full presentation. I believe we have maybe a few public speakers on this item one as well.
All right. Commissioner Hall.
Thanks, Trinity. You know, we've got the breakdown of the funding options in the different areas and the recommendations from CLAC. Could you let us know what the other options are, as well as using Conservation Collier money or tourism funds? Or
So I presented to CLAC, the Conservation Collier Land Acquisition Committee, several options with regard to the corridor, one of which was participation by CLAC on multiple segments of the corridor, not just those that were immediately adjacent. In the Peach area that's on this map, there is a cell tower, and that particular property is not immediately adjacent to Conservation Collier-owned property. And then obviously we have the green area, which is the roadway. Other sources of funding that we would entertain that could be for the remaining, what we call the other portion, could be general fund dollars. We could entertain other sources of funding. We haven't utilized tourism dollars for this type of initiative in the past, and it would need to go through TDT and through all of those appropriate channels before we could entertain that to determine if it were even eligible.
And then with the Conservation Collier funds, would it be possible to purchase all of it except for the highway portion?
That would be a board decision.
Okay. I bring this up because there's a lot of moving parts to this purchase, and this trail goes all the way up to Sarasota, and Estero is part of it. City of Bonita is part of it. Lee County is considering it. It's really bad timing for them right now with all of the airport stuff that they have to deal with. But this is just like less than 2 miles of the Burt Trail for us, and it would connect the Paradise Coast Trail all the way up to Sarasota if we could pull this off. And this project is going to need prayer. There's a lot of money, and all of the stars have to line up, plus more than that, to really get this thing off. But if we can pull it off, I think it would be a real benefit to Southwest Florida as far as having a quality bike trail, pedestrian trail, connecting all kinds of things.
Mr. Miller, do we have any registered speakers?
We have 2, sir. One here in the room and one on Zoom.
All right, let's go through that.
Your first registered speaker is Deborah Orton, and she'll be followed on Zoom by Michelle Avola Brown.
Well, you stole my thunder. You basically said the things that I'd like to say. My name is Deb Orton. I am president of a large nonprofit. We have 4,000 members in Collier and Lee County, and it is Friends of this Rail to Trail project. We affectionately call it BERT. Last week had a chance to be boots on the ground in the Collier County portion, and you can think about it as a rail to trail, but you can also think about it as the acreage that it represents. It is so wide and beautiful in that 2 miles that is Collier County. It butts up against conservation lands, etc. So it is really wide, 160 feet wide at that point. So our experience we brought a film crew in there, and it was really amazing walking that and doing video, etc., of that land. So we walked as far as we could, and we stopped at a place where we know that Veterans Memorial Parkway would go through and likely would put a trailhead there. And then, of course, we also witnessed the gopher tortoises, et cetera, that are there and on conservation land. So to Commissioner Hall's point, this is where we connect. This is the part that we connect to the Paradise Coast Trail all the way down to Marco Island. This is where we connect in Lee County and Charlotte County and Manatee all the way up Sarasota and then all the way up to Tampa. So this is the gap that the state of Florida sees in order to make a realization of Tampa to Marco Island. And maybe more important to all of us is into Naples, up to Fort Myers, and all the way down into our latest Florida Gulf Coast, latest Florida trail town, which is now Marco Island. They were last week named as a Florida trail town. So thank you so much for considering this.
Thank you.
Your next and final speaker joins us on Zoom, Michelle Avola Brown. Michelle, you're being prompted to unmute yourself if you'll do so at this time. I see you have. Michelle, you have 3 minutes.
Well, good morning. Sorry I can't be there in person, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak about this important project. When we have the Paradise Coast Trail on the ground, that will provide 100 miles of paved separated trail for walking, for biking, for rollerblading, for taking dogs on a walk, for pushing kids in a stroller, for folks in wheelchairs to be out and enjoy the beauty of Southwest Florida. And that'll be really nice for Collier County, but we really need this connection with the Bonita Estero Rail Trail so that we can then be part of this incredible 420-mile system, the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. The 2 miles that is in Collier County, it may seem insignificant, but it's pivotal. And this connection here where the rail line has been basically abandoned, this area will have one of the greatest opportunities to be one of the most beautiful parts of our trail. A lot of our trail is going to be parallel to roadways, and while it will be safer, not all of it necessarily will be aesthetically pleasing to those walking or biking near it. But this section especially will be will be just so pretty. And with the area still being able to be conserved and then enjoyed by sustainable kind of users, not vehicles going through here, that's just that just adds so much to it. So I would humbly ask that you do support the recommendation of both Trust for Public Lands and Trinity Scott to fund this at the full capacity so that the Paradise Coast Trail can then be the gateway to the whole rest of the Gulf Coast Trail.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, you may be the only bicycle enthusiast on the board, so do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this request.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that passed unanimously.
Am I not lighting up?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I did have a question and then a comment, and the question was, the funding for this only comes from us in the event that the trust acquires the land for acquisition, number one. Number two, rest assured that there is rail banking associated with the acquisition of this right away in the event that greater technology comes about and we can have multiple uses for this facility.
You are correct on both accounts, sir.
Somebody you already wrote that down. Okay, very good.
I'm sure it'll be the only time today, though.
Ms. Patterson, do we have time for one more?
Yes,
quick
sir.
item?
I think we can knock out the two companion items for the beaches. That is item 11F and 11G. Item 11F is a recommendation to approve the Fall Truck Haul Beach Renourishment Project and authorize tourist development tax expenditures for the Vanderbilt Beach Renourishment scheduled for November 2025 with an estimated project cost of $5,500,000 and make a finding that this item promotes tourism. Its companion is a recommendation to award invitation to bid number 25-8417, Collier County 2025 Vanderbilt and Pelican Bay Beach Renourishment to Dickerson Infrastructure, Inc. in the amount of $4,450,000. Authorize the chair to sign the attached agreement and make a finding that this item promotes tourism. Mr. Andrew Miller, your manager of Coastal Zone Management, is here to present or answer questions.
All right, first, do we have any registered speakers, Mr. Miller? No. All right. Perhaps just a very brief.
Item 11 is for the public public portion of the project of Vanderbilt Beach, which is eligible for TDC funding. That's a project that is going to be around $5.5 million. Item G is for the actual contract to build Vanderbilt Beach and Pelican Bay. And we hope to start the project in a couple weeks and be done hopefully by Christmas or shortly thereafter.
All right. How much sand will be deposited on these beaches?
I believe it's around, 100,000 yards on Vanderbilt and then 44,000 yards on Pelican Bay.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner McDaniel.
Yes, I just want to alert, I was reviewing the bid pack. I don't have any issue with the first item, but I just want to alert the clerk with regard to the bid package that went out on this. There was a local vendor that didn't get this job for less than $100,000, and there was a large disparity in the bid package with regard to the represented costs associated with the contractor that was selected. And I just want to make sure that we don't have somebody coming in here and doing a change order and eliminating a local vendor over someone else that theoretically underbid it during that process.
Point well taken, sir. And we have our consultant and staff has vetted the selected contractor.
Any of those things. Please understand, I'm not questioning that particular process. It just for the edification purposes, because this is a state and federal subsidized beach renourishment program, it eliminates the local vendor preference process that would typically allow us to assert one of our local vendors. And so when I was reviewing it, there was large disparities in some of the bid processes, expenses associated that allowed them to beat the local vendor by right around 100,000. So I just don't want this job to cost an extra 200,000 someday and have eliminated someone else because of a change order.
Understood, and we're going to keep a close eye on it because that's the last thing we want on this project is any change orders.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I had a similar concern, Andy, that if you see a change order bubbling up or, one of those special meetings where the current vendor says, oh my gosh, in our assessment, there's 3 things we just discovered and now all of a sudden, we're paying quite a bit more than even the vendors who didn't get it. I want to know that. I want that. I don't want to find that out by accident. And number 2, different question, but you are literally, quote, knee deep in sand. You are the sand guy. The last time we approved some beach renourishment due to storms and things like that, one of the things that you said at the podium is how much effort you had gone through to find us like the best possible, not only contractor, but the best cost per truckload or whatnot. Just for my own curiosity, because I actually get this question answered by asked by a lot of people on Marco. The going rate of sand, the sand that you use, how are you seeing it fluctuating? Because the last time you were here, I think you were like, hey, it's actually pretty competitively priced, and we found a really good deal that we hadn't found before. So just generically, because it's a big purchase, what's the market for the sand that you use? Because we use a lot of it as far as the price point goes.
Well, the only information I have is this contract for the sand that we purchased this year has been a contract that we've used for the last several years, and it's $11 a ton, and it has been since then. And they haven't increased their price, even though they have the opportunity to do so. The prices for sand during the emergency burn project were slightly higher. So give or take, it's well within the range that we expect.
That's what I was curious about, because I know at times it spikes, and then, that's a big number. Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Make a motion?
Let's go ahead and do a motion for both of them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve item 11F and 11G. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, pass unanimously.
Thank you.
Commissioners, that brings us to our 10 o'clock time certain, item 11C. Item 11C is a recommendation to consider directing the zoning director to sign a Florida Housing Finance Corporation local government verification that development is consistent with zoning and land use regulations form in accordance with Florida statutes 125.01055. Mr. Cormac Giblin, your division director for economic development and housing, is here to begin the presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cormac Giblin, for the record. I'm here to present a recommendation to consider directing the zoning director to sign a form that is needed for financing for affordable housing. It's a unique request. It's one that has not been before you yet. It's to use your zoning powers that are authorized through state statute 125.01055. I want to go through a little bit about what is state statute 125.01055. And it says that this law is known as the state's affordable housing law. It has several clauses and paragraphs. This paragraph number 6 has been amended from time to time. It was initially put into state law in about 2020, 2021 timeframe. This precedes the Live Local Act, as it's known. And what it says is that notwithstanding any other law or local ordinance or regulation to the contrary, the Board of County Commissioners may approve the development of housing that is affordable on any parcel zoned for commercial or industrial use, so long as at least 10% of the units included in the project are for housing that is affordable, and also that the provisions of this subsection are self-executing and do not require the Board of County Commissioners to adopt an ordinance or regulation before using the approval process in this subsection. This has been described in the past by some housing practitioners around the state as sort of a magic wand that every board in the county has, that if you see a particular site and the conditions are right and you have a particular development model in mind, you can use the power of this statute to zone it, to grant it any density you wish, to grant it any development standards you wish. So it gives that power to you. And we have a request today from a developer who would like you to consider using that power. This is the site that's in question. It is off of Golden Gate Parkway near the intersection of Golden Gate Parkway and Goodlet Road. It's almost directly across the street from Naples High in the Coastland Center. You'll notice on the slide that most of the slide is grayed out. That is City of Naples jurisdiction. What is in color is Collier County jurisdiction. So you can see that this site is maybe a little bit of a hole in the donut surrounded by city lands. More specifically, it is 2.03 acres, currently zoned C4. The developer also has the adjoining 0.61 acres that are in the city of Naples, but those would not be part of any development application or approvals that he would be asking from Collier County. I believe that the future plan for that triangle at the end would be to remain green space. And zooming out a little more, you can see how it interplays with the current parcel next to it, also zone C4. It's known as the Iberia Bank Building. It's on an adjoining 2.65 acres. If this were all in one development, similar to a PUD or a commercial PUD development, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They would have other avenues available to them. But since each of these is an individual parcel, each zone C4, and that's where we are. You might be familiar with the site, the way it's looked for the past few years. It's the former home of the Strikes and Spares bowling alley that was around for a long time. Again, it sits right in front of the Iberia Bank multi-story office building. For a little more context, and you can see how it relates to the mall, to the high school. There's a shopping center with a Publix, and notably, there are no residential neighbors anywhere around this area. You're bordered by the Freedom Park, by the large commercial office building, and basically the Naples Greenway. Here it is again, and you can see how it relates to the city of Naples and the rest of the job and employment opportunities that are around less than 2 miles from here, be it the hospital or other areas. What they're asking you to do is to use the power in that statute to grant them the development to authorize 120 affordable units to be built on this site. They've caveated that request with a few conditions. Number one is that they will comply with all applicable provisions of code and other laws. Number two, they will be in strict compliance with the parking, setbacks, and buffer requirements set back in the RMF 16 zoning district. The AMI levels for the proposed project will be as is shown in the chart below. And Commissioner Hall, to your point earlier this morning, this project is proposed to be 100% affordable with 81% of the overall units under 80% of median income, and further 65% of the overall units under 60% of median. Your point was well taken this morning that targeting those units at the 100% of area median income is really almost competing with market rate in this area. And as you recall, a couple weeks ago when we updated some of our housing policies in the growth management plan and the LDC, that was our suggestion to you, is that it's time to start looking to target something deeper. This project, I think, does a pretty good job of doing that. The affordability commitment will remain for a period of 30 years in their proposal. And this request is only approving the density and the number of units. The details will be worked out through a developer agreement that will still need to go through the full public process in Collier County, through the Planning Commission, and through a further approval by the Board of County Commissioners. The reason the developer is here is because they need this form signed by the zoning director before October 27th, which is the funding deadline to get to the state for housing tax credits financing. And by signing this form, you would be authorizing the zoning director to say that the undersigned local government representative confirms that as of the date this form was signed, the above referenced development's proposed number of units, density, and intended use are approved pursuant to section 125.01.055 paragraph 6 Florida statutes. And that's a briefing of what the ask is from the representatives. I believe that Mr. Davies and his client are going to further give you a little bit more further background on it.
Commissioner LaCastro, you want to hear from Mr. Davies?
Yeah, I'll wait. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Noel Davies with the law firm of Davies Duke on behalf of Gallery at Naples, LLC. Alex Bellina, my client representative, is also here this morning. First and foremost, my client and I want to thank all of you and your staff for allowing us to present this item today. A special thank you to Madam County Manager, Mr. County Attorney, Trinity Scott, Jamie French, Mike Bosey, Cormac Giblin, Heidi Ashton Cisco. We are extremely appreciative of your help and collaboration on this item. We wouldn't be here without your support and without your creative thinking under the statute that Cormac mentioned, and we're very grateful for those efforts. As you heard from Mr. Giblin, this item relates to 1465 Golden Gate Parkway. It contemplates a 100% affordable housing project with the diverse AMI levels that you heard about from Mr. Giblin. And of course, that chart includes the very low categories of the AMI chart. as you heard from Mr. Giblin, the only way my client can take the next step on this potential project is to apply for the financing with the state. That deadline, as you heard, is October 27th, and the application will not be accepted by the state unless Zoning Director Boese signs the required verification form. So that is our request this morning, for you to provide preliminary authorization only so that we can apply for our financing, then come back through your process sometime next year if we are in fact awarded the financing. To be clear, a yes vote on this item is not a vote of approval on the project. A yes vote simply authorizes Mr. Boese's signature on the subject document. Without that signature, the project dies, because without the financing, my client would be unable to provide the diverse AMI levels that Mr. Giblin described. Again, the statutory support for all of this is found in section 125.01055, subsection 6. A copy of that is in your backup for this item. You heard about the proposed AMI levels that we're committing to. These, again, importantly, speak to not just the 80% level, but you'll see here the significance of the lower categories and the significant portion of the project that would be dedicated to that. Again, this is not a project with a percentage of affordable housing and the rest market rate. This is proposed to be a 100% affordable housing project with these levels. We believe that the subject property is an ideal location for this type of project. As you heard from Mr. Giblin, it's isolated from other residential development, parks to the north and south, and nearly 30,000 jobs within a 2-mile radius, including 2 schools, Naples High and Lake Park Elementary, NCH, the Coastland Center Mall, and a number of additional employment centers, many of which are walkable from this site. Having a 100% high quality affordable housing project at this location and with these proposed AMI levels would certainly help mitigate our ongoing affordable housing crisis here in Collier County. And we're asking you today to allow us to take that first step for this potential project so that we can apply for the financing and come back through your formal public hearing process. And with that, I'd now like to invite my client, Alex Bellina, to share some additional thoughts with you. Again, thank you very much, Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to present this item to you today.
And as Mr. Molina is approaching the microphone, I have a question for the county attorney. The statute says that the commissioners may approve the development. There may have been a little bit inconsistent with some of the comments from our staff. If we approve the signing of this document, we're talking about a request for 120 units on the parcel. At this point, I don't have any issues with that, but the question is, does that in any way vest in the property owner the right to do the 120 units, or does that whole issue come back and does the board have the discretion to deal with the density issues and that sort of thing at a future date? And if we do, what is that process?
The rub on this is the certification that they're requesting. And under the certification, Mr. Boese would be certifying that they're consistent with our land use regulations. So the rezone issue is off the table. I believe your density is off the table after this. If we authorize Mr. Boese to sign this, it's at that point in time, it's site development plans, that sort of thing.
So that zoning right would vest on this, on the parcel?
Just based on the certification.
Okay, just want to make sure. I kind of got that feeling from Cormac Giblin, but I did not quite understand that in your comments. So just want to make sure that we're clear on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, you also heard from Mr. Giblin, we're agreeable to these additional conditions. So I think the statute does the statute's very discretionary and broad. It allows you to approve the 120 units. What I'm telling you today is that in addition to that, which is that's the very first step, we need to get the financing. If we don't have that, we can't get the financing, the project dies. But we are committing to you to come back through your process if and only if we're awarded the financing, which is still an if, but we can't do it without this piece, that we'll come back to discuss the density, development standards, everything else. But the commitments that Mr. Giblin read, which is us coming back to you and through the process, including committing to the RMF 16 standards, the density, the additional density is required for that form to go through the financing process, but that's still subject to future hearings with this board on that issue and other issues.
Mr. Glatskow, does that give us comfort in terms of what our
Yeah, and
flexibility is going forward?
Yes, sir. My legal consideration says you can conditionally approve this, and Mr. Bosey's would note on the certification that this was conditionally approved, that they're still going through the rezone process.
And the conditional approval will be sufficient?
Well, no, the document has to be signed because it's a state form that.
I know the document has to be signed, but you indicated something that.
It's a certification. I mean, it's Mr. Bosey be certifying that at the end of the day, it conforms to local land use regulations. So that's the rub on this.
Yeah.
So if I may, there's an or on the form, right? And Mr. Giblin walked you through this. Here's the statute. Let me pull up the form from his. Do you have yours on here?
If you could put that form in on the visualizer.
Put it on the visualizer.
We can all see it. I just wanted to make sure we, on the record, we're clear on what we're approving.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this is the form. The undersigned local government representative confirms that as the date this form was signed, the above referenced developments, proposed number of units, density, and intended use, 1, are consistent with current land use regulations and zoning designation, or 2, are approved pursuant to section 125.01055, subsection 6, Florida statutes. That's the or that we're here about today that gives the board discretion to authorize the 120 units on the property.
Mr. Glatskow, while we're going through the comments and questions from the commission, if you could.
Your problem is certification. Mr. Bosey will be certifying that these 120 units are consistent with local land use regulations and the zoning designation, and this is commercial property. So unless the board changes it from commercial to residential, Mr. Bosey really can't sign it.
Well, but the board has authority under the statute to authorize those number of units because of the commitments that this is an affordable housing project. That's what the statute allows you to do.
Again, the problem is the language of the certification is clear.
Okay. So if we approve this, we're approving 120 units on that parcel if the
Yes.
financing's available and the project goes forward.
Yes.
I just want to be clear on the record as to what we're doing.
Or you can conditionally approve it, but I don't know that the state would accept it.
Right. Commissioner Castro.
Yeah, I think this discussion is about as clear as mud now because we're all concerned about the same thing. Whenever we approve density or a number of units, it's a much more robust discussion where we talk about ingress and egress and height, and Commissioner Hall chimes in with some affordable housing concerns or issues. We all do. The way I understood this, and that's where you say maybe this is sort of a gray area, is I'll never hold, I say never, but in this particular case, I don't want to slow down the process of at least asking for the funds. And if you don't get the funds, then we'll never see you again. This thing's dead in the water. But if tied to asking those funds is we already give a flat agreement to 120 units and all the other details that go with it, that's normally not how we do it. We hear a whole presentation here from our staff and what are the pluses and minuses. We have public comment, people that maybe don't live across the street but traverse these roads that we want to hear from them as well. So I just want to make sure this isn't, and we spoke in my office, and much like I think Commissioner Saunders said at the beginning, initially I was like, this isn't a showstopper to me, and I'm not saying it is, but I want to make sure we're not just wrapping this in a package and putting it in the express lane. So that's why when I heard the county attorney say it's conditional approval, and maybe words matter. What I'd be comfortable with is, yeah, I get what you're proposing, and plus or minus, but you're going to come back with a deeper dive when you get the money, and we all might sit up here and say, you know what? Now that we've heard from public comment, now that we've heard from our engineers, now that we heard from FDOT, now that we heard from our housing folks, 120 is excessive, and so then we have a conversation about this. But if we're tied to 120 by Mr. Bosey signing this, I think all of us are going to have some reservations, because normally when we approve density and the number of units and whatnot, it's a much different presentation. And so I don't want this to just automatically get tied to the money request. And so I think we got to have the right verbiage, and maybe we even need to hear from Mr. Bosey, because if his signature's going on this, in the end, he's given this the green light or not. And I can appreciate, Mr. Davies, what you're saying. Oh, we'll be back, and we're, we've got some latitude to negotiate back and forth, but I don't want to make the mistake to hold this document up and go, no, we're sticking to the 120 just like you signed and agreed to on October 14th.
And Commissioner, let me be very clear. We are not holding you to the 120.
I know, but does the document hold us to that? You might not, but that's where the county attorney said a few things that have me concerned that the document might hold us to that. Whether you are going to be a nice guy and come back here and maybe you've got some latitude, which is great, but I don't want the legal document to hold us to that, because I want to do a much deeper dive when it comes to density and units. I just want to give you the ability to pursue the money, and then if you get the money, then you come back, and then then we have our normal type of presentation. So I'm still not clear that this document gives us the latitude to still have the ability to negotiate the numbers and the units and whatnot.
Yes, the statute, which is referenced in the document, is what gives you that latitude and that discretion.
But your problem is you're asking for funding which requires a certification, and that certification is clear that we are authorizing 120 units, and that is consistent with the current land use designation.
Well,
that's what the certification says.
The certification says it's consistent with the statute, approved under the statute. That's where the or comes in after the consistent with current land use regulations and zoning designation.
You're on the one above. I'm just on the certification by Mr. Bosey.
Yeah, it does say that I certify that the city/county of Collier has vested in me the authority to verify consistency with local land use regulation and zoning designations. There is an or there. Okay, that's not relevant.
Because let me ask this. Can I just finish my initial thought? If we approve this, and this is more of hypothetical because I'm trying to understand the legalese in here, and you went for the money based on this, 120 units, blah, 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 and you got the funds, but then you came back here and just for the sake of argument, we say, you know what, we think 120 is too large of a footprint. We're going to only approve, and just for the sake of this argument, I'm going to use numbers that are going to jump out at you. We're only going to approve 80 units. Then maybe you getting the funds are not authorized because you got the funds for the 120, but then you came back here and we changed that number. And so then the state might go, whoa, we gave you millions of dollars for 120 for a project that looked like this. But then when you came and negotiated with commissioners, they changed the parameters of what your ask was. And I just want to, ask the attorneys in the room here, does that negate the money then that you got from the state? Because on your application, the final result wasn't what was on the application. That's what I'm concerned about. And what, when we talked, briefly in my office yesterday, and I think you spoke with probably most of the commissioners, I hadn't really thought of it that way, which was the specificity in this application ask, if any of it changes, does it negate the approval of the money you get from the state? And I think they both have to sort of be married together. So we either have to be comfortable with the 120, or if our county attorney says, no, you have the latitude, it's a conditional approval. But I think a lot of times the money is tied to such specificity that, if that's the case, we better be sure that this density, and I think this is in Commissioner Colwell's district, right? This is right on the edge. So he may know a little bit more about or have some more thoughts, but we do a much deeper presentation when we approve density and number of units, and we get into traffic and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure all that doesn't go away, because all of that is tied to this application.
Yeah, none of that goes away. There's still a future process that we have to go through if we get awarded the financing. And the 120 is up to 120, and you'll see there it says this number must be equal to or greater than the number of units stated by the applicant in the Exhibit A of the RFA.
I know, but what if it's less than?
That would be the maximum.
120.
It could be less than.
It's greater than.
Equal or greater?
This is equal or greater. That
Be the
doesn't make
minimum.
sense. If it said this is the max number, and it could be less than, if it was that kind of verbiage. But I actually don't think that bottom sentence helps us, because it says this number could be equal or greater. So if we go, 120 is not enough, we want 220, I think the money still holds. But I'm just
No.
No?
This number must be equal to or greater than the number of units stated by the applicant. The point of this form is that it's a certification that the density is available on this property. It would be the maximum density. We're not necessarily asking for that density, but you've got authority to.
This outlines the maximum density, but it's not saying that that's what your project's going to be. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
To make me comfortable, and then there might be other people that I want to hear those sentences from the county staff.
Sure.
So I want to hear it from Mr. Giblin or Mr. Bosey or our county attorney, because, and not to say I'm not saying you're not being truthful, but I want it echoed by our staff that we're not bound to this 120, that if this 120 is tied to the money and we change the 120 in any way, it might negate you getting the funds. So I think that's what we're all asking in a different way here.
Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner McDaniel.
I'll wait for staff. My question specifically for Mr. Bosey.
Mr. Bosey, why don't you come on up while we're.
I can perhaps answer Commissioner LaCastro's question. This is the maximum that you would be authorizing on this site. Their state application could propose 116 units, 100 units, 92 units, anything less than 120. If they were approved for state funding at a number, and then at a later date, this board decided that due to operational characteristics, every project needs to be viable through the site development plan process. You can't, just because you're zoned for 120 units, there are times when you cannot operationally fit 120 units with parking and ingress, egress, traffic, preserves, set-asides, water management. So all of those restrictions that you have in your code still would apply to this. So the 120 may be unachievable anyway once they got into the site development plan
And
process.
it wouldn't change the money they got from the state?
Well,
So
that
if
was the second point I was going to make.
Okay.
That would be between them and the state.
Right.
I know that there is a little bit of flexibility, and perhaps the client can come up here later to talk about what those are. But there are penalties by the state if you say you're going to do one thing, but later you need to adjust it and do less. There are ways to get through there, but it does create a problem between them and the state that they would need to work out.
Commissioner McDaniel. Anything from Mr. Bosey?
It hasn't changed from.
All right. Mr. Bosey? Commissioner, did you have a question for Mr.
I did.
Okay.
Yes, now that he's here, what's prohibiting this applicant from applying under the Live Local Act to go forward? This property is already underlying zoning of C4.
Mike Bosey, Planning and Zoning Director. The applicant is seeking a density of roughly 60 units an acre. The Live Local, as that has been discussed with the Board of County Commissioners, the maximum allowed density we would allow under Live Local is 25 units an acre. So he can't attain the number of units that they're seeking within this application, utilizing the Live Local, which allows the applicant to skip the public hearing process. This process under 125 allows the Board of County Commissioners to approve a project at any density if it contains affordable housing. So there was still under Florida Statute 125, but the ability to increase the density beyond the 25 that's set at the Live Local is the process that they're seeking. So that's why they're going this route and not the traditional Live Local.
Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Klaskow, if this 120 units, if it says that the number of units or the density or the intended use are consistent with the regulations and zoning and are approved pursuant to Section 125, and Section 125 says that we may approve it, doesn't say that we have to approve it.
Again, like was said before, this is a magic wand. I mean, the board could bypass everything and approve this. Your problem right now here is the certification, not the statute.
So if we certify this form,
Then you're at 120 units, and
we're pretty well sticking our feet to the fire for the 120?
yeah, and you're saying that it's consistent with the current land use regulations, which means you'd have to, as part of the motion, change them.
Are we allowed to modify the language in this document to go to the state?
Again, I don't know if the state would. I don't know how the state would view that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be comfortable if there was a clause that says this certification by no way binds us to any density or any number of units allowable in the future that may have come to this project. If we could put that language in there, I would be comfortable with it. But listening to what you're saying is a little bit different than the way that I understood it. I understood it like Mr. Davies said, if we sign this form, we're in no way bound to it. But listening to what you say, if we certify this, then we kind of are. But so if we had some kind of language in there that would take us off the hook, I don't mind them asking for financing, but I don't in any way, I'm never going to agree to 120 units. I said that to them yesterday, and I mean it today. Even 43% of the mix is still basically at market rate from 80 to 110% regarding my comments earlier. So if we can modify it, I think I'm fine with it. If we can't, then I don't want to bind us in any way.
I'm happy to do some sort of separate agreement or document that memorializes what I'm telling you about going back through the process and that you're not bound by the 120. I think as a
Wouldn't that create a
ministerial
problem?
matter with the.
Wouldn't that create a problem for you with the state? You're sending a certification that says X, and you're giving us a side agreement that says Y. I don't want to put you in that position. I don't think you can do that. Mr. Bosey, and when I met with you guys, I had no issues with this, but I thought we could all come back on the number of units. And so that's what's got me a little hung up. But Mr. Bosey, let's just say that the board votes to do this. We just simply say, okay, we're going to authorize the signature. It's your certification. Your certification would be that this is consistent with land use regulations and the zoning designation. If we said, okay, go ahead and fill out the form, you're the one that's under oath. Are you going to sign it? I mean,
If directed to sign the documentation that this was the number of units that was available, from my understanding that there was going to be some conditional phrasing that was going to be added to that to provide a little, I don't know, flexibility. But if it is certifying that this 120 is available, I'm being directed by the Board of County Commissioners to perjurize myself.
right. Well,
I mean,
I'm assuming you wouldn't want to do that. So.
That's not a position that I'm most certainly a team player for Collier County, but that is most certainly an extraordinary act.
Mike, you need an attorney right now to represent you at that podium. Stop talking.
Mr. Molina, did you have? I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to really resolve this in a positive way for you right now. And I know you've got a deadline before October 27th or something like that. We don't have another meeting. Let me make it. I'm just going to throw out a suggestion that you talk to our county attorney during our lunch break. Let's put this off until the end of our regular meeting. Continue this today for later on today, so that you have an opportunity to talk to the county attorney and discuss what your certifications would be. Because I think right now, if we vote right now, you're going to get a no vote, and there may be some way to resolve this. That would be just a suggestion. Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Chairman. And Mr. Bosey, we've talked. We've had a lot of conversations reference to this. And like I said, I think Jamie that day on the phone call that I would never ask you to put yourself in that position. And later in the day, I was recontacted and said that the language was not going to be the issue that would put you in a position that you perjure yourself. But now sitting here today, I'm getting, everybody's rereading this thing and everybody's coming up with different opinions on what we're doing here. And the sad part is the reality. I would never ask you to perjure yourself for a project.
Now, I might ask you to do it, but.
Well, I'm just, I wouldn't.
I'm just kidding.
We do have to get a lot of clarity on this moving forward, because this is not what I was comfortable with leading up to today. That was not what I was, agreeing to support. But at the same time, we've done these forms before, like for rural neighborhoods and, and I don't know how many units. They got 500 some units on their piece of property, but don't they take consideration the whole golf course as part of their property, and that's how they get their density under the 25?
Again, Mike Bosey, Plan Zoning Director. Yeah, I've signed this form numerous times for a number of our affordable housing projects for their financing, and it's a process where I will go all certified. What's the zoning designation? What's the allowance from a density perspective, and certified that that's the number of units that are available. So it's not uncommon for me to author or to sign this on behalf of the county. This is just a unique circumstance, just because of the conditional language that I think we're looking for.
The reason I'm going in that direction is because, like I said, I know other projects that are building on a certain footprint, like our golf course project or VA. They don't actually occupy the whole golf course, but they kind of utilize that footprint in getting their density to stay under the 25 per acre. Now I'm just going to throw something out there. Cormac had the other picture of the actual property footprint, the whole triangle. And from what I understand, I believe the bank owns all the property, and that's who they're purchasing it from.
Yes, sir.
So it wouldn't be hard for them, or I don't know, it's on their end to negotiate, but if they included the bank's footprint, their footprint, the city's footprint, and included all that acreage, they would actually be under the 25 units per square foot.
22.69.
So I think that's what, there could be a creative way they can go at this, or we could sign this letter today. But I don't, I'm not comfortable if it's the way it's transpiring today. This is not what I was signing on for. So I want some clarity, and I hope that they take the chairman's recommendation and try to figure something out here.
Commissioner Cole, Mr. Chairman, if I may, happy to speak with the county attorney further and come back later to you today. I want to make it very clear for the record that there is no intent for Mr. Bosey or you to authorize him to perjure himself. I mean, I know that we're sort of joking about that. I think that's a gross perversion of the language of the document, quite frankly. So I think Mr. Klatskow and I are reading it differently. We will go speak about that and try to, we appreciate the creative thinking. Of course, what we're trying to do is have a sufficient application for the state, because the state does have a very strict interpretation of that and strict sufficiency requirements. So we want to get the form signed, but we certainly want to get it in a way that you're comfortable authorizing the form. If the form doesn't get signed today, it's a deadline that I don't set, that the state sets. Project's dead. It's a phenomenal project and a phenomenal site with phenomenal AMI levels. And so I will absolutely speak with your county attorney and come back before you, but I would urge you to consider giving us this shot to go get the financing, and then memorialize however we can to make sure that you're comfortable that we'll see you again on the density issue, and you get a full and true bite at that apple. We are not seeking to circumvent your process. We're not seeking to go fast. We're just under this deadline with the state, and so we're trying to go get the financing first and then come back to you on those issues. So I will work with your county attorney on trying to memorialize that in a legally enforceable way for the county.
Commissioner LaCastro and Commissioner Hall,
I'm done.
you're both lit. Okay, Commissioner LaCastro.
Mr. Bosey, you said you signed a bunch of these forms. Did you ever sign it that had a density on it like this? And then when it came back, and then they got the money, and then when it came back to us with much more detail on the actual project, the density was changed and it didn't affect anything. Can you recall any time where that might have happened?
No, every time that I've signed this, it's based upon the actual density that's associated with the property.
That's what was actually built. And for the applicant side, nobody's picking on you or anything, but I think we want to make sure you don't get crossways with the state, where you apply for the money and you show exactly what your proposed plan is, but then when we approve density or number of units or whatever, it's a totally different presentation in here. It's not just a quick form. And if we made changes to it, and the commissioner said this best, we might be setting you up to have some sort of issue with the state, where now the money that they authorized for 120 units, if that 120 changes, they may have an issue with the amount of money that they gave you. They could pull it back, give you less, and we don't want to have we want this to be clean. But I know when it comes to density, we usually just don't vote for it, and we don't vote for a construction project based off of 140. Nobody wants to keep you from your right of asking for the money, but if asking for it comes with the 120 with no flexibility, that's, I think, what we're all saying in basically a different way, but that's our main takeaway. So I agree with the chairman. Go forth and conquer at lunch, and we realize the timeline crunch.
Any registered speakers?
We do, Mr. Chair, and since this was a time certain, I wondered if you wanted me to call them.
Yeah, let's hear from the public so they don't have to.
We have 3 registered speakers. First, Naples City Manager Gary Young, and he will be followed by Bill Kramer.
And Commissioner Caldwell, did you have something?
I was just going to ask Bozy just to clarify something real quick. I know because Commissioner LaCastro had asked him about.
Mr. Bozy?
Mr. Bozy. Real quick, Mike. I'm sorry, Mr. Bozy. Commissioner LaCastro asked you about signing a form in the past and the number on there being the number that we approved and probably ended up building. But I know I did my own research, and we've talked also. All these other projects in the past that's gone to get this money, their footprint was large enough that they stayed under or stayed at the 25 units per square acre, correct?
All the projects in the past had the density at the time that I signed that letter allocated to the property that they were that letter was associated with.
That they're building on. Yes. Their problem is they're squeezing their footprint down on a larger piece of property, and that's what hurts them. If they can include the whole footprint, this wouldn't even be an issue today.
Yeah, if they could get under 25 units an acre, they would seek it without a public hearing under Live Local.
And Commissioner, just for clarification, the question was asked a little while ago, how often does a project come in under what is certified? I'd say most often. Yeah. The forms are done at the very, very forefront of a project to secure that financing. And then as they go through that financing and they go through some real site planning, more often than not, they find that they can't achieve the number that they've put in this form, and they come in at somewhat less. Now, that's not because of an action by the Board of County Commissioners, but that's just due to operational characteristics. They can't find enough parking, things like that. So more often than not, these forms are signed, and then when it actually comes back, it comes in at a lower density.
All right, let's go ahead and hear from the public comment.
Mr. Gary Young, Naples City Manager, and he'll be followed by Councilman Bill Kramer.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. The reason I'm here today, obviously, is this, was put on everyone's radar within the city, and it's immediately, your discussion is a microcosm of why I'm here, because members, this didn't follow the normal trail, and you don't have an opportunity to opine. Residents wrote to members of council, to the city manager's office, and have anxiety over this because of all the unknowns. So your questions is exactly the reason council at yesterday's workshop says, please make sure you're there, communicate to members of the commission to say that to approve something that we don't know exactly what the density is, and to say that this maximum level is the prudent decision. I equate it to, some of us are old enough to have played with dominoes. If the first domino falls and it falls flat, that's fantastic. But if it triggers other things to happen with outside of your control, you're trying to get your arms around it. And that's the equation that I see. I'm not gonna, I did send have the record, a letter sent today. I would like it to be part of the record. I provided it. But the main thing is there's two things in there. We have enough interlocal agreements and it's at our doorstep, that we have a dual interest in making sure that this is developed properly, and its configuration and its location, in an area where there is already heavy traffic and I would just say, confined traffic pattern, it warrants all of this discussion. So respectfully, on behalf of the citizens in Naples and Canton City, Canton City, sorry, I'm from Canton, Ohio, from Naples City Council, we just ask that, you consider this, that it cannot be a domino that guarantees this, because the density, we have issues with the density and think it will present operational problems going forward. So thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you.
Thank you, sir.
Your next speaker is Councilman Bill Kramer. He'll be followed by Garrett Byron.
Howdy, men. Thanks very much. Appreciate this opportunity. My name is Bill Kramer. For the record, 22 years as Naples High School head football coach. I left during COVID and began working with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which put me in all the schools. And then a year and a half ago, I was elected to Naples City Council. And I have to say, I don't speak for Naples City Council right now, and I don't speak for FCA. But I give that as some street cred that I have my pulse on that community, and I invest heavily in Naples High School. The first thing I thought of when I heard of this, which was yesterday, was the sound of traffic accidents that we would hear probably monthly. And this is my recollection, anecdotal, but it's a very common occurrence as we're sitting there at football practice. Bam! That corridor from 22nd. By the way, I live as far from the softball field as this development is from the football field. So I'm in that Sun Terrace neighborhood. And I thought it interesting. I was wondering if our petitioner was mediocre at what they do, which is why they're trying to use this lever of time where we have to hurry and do this because we're under the gun. By the way, none of us are under the gun. They're under the gun. I would like to play against guys that are that way. They can't prepare well enough to get their stuff done on time. That's why we won so many games. Or the other thing is that they're sketchy enough and manipulative enough to try to use that as a lever. Now, I didn't know who I was going to see when I walked in this morning, and I have great respect for the council, but this is sketchy or unprepared, and I can't believe he'd be unprepared. So I asked yesterday, it happened quick, I got it last night for this police report. This is since January. Forgive these glasses. 75 vehicle crash calls at that 22nd Street to Golden Gate Parkway in front of Naples High School. Crash calls year to date, 75. And so if we're going to talk about this, let's talk about that. I'm for affordable housing. I'm a proponent. I think all you guys know me well enough to know that. Single income teacher, let's go. But I also want to know how's this going to work that we don't put kids at danger. And for our current parents and our future parents who have a vested interest in what this traffic looks like. And I thought this one I knew they're sophisticated. The picture, that's great. The rule of thirds, but if you had high school photography, you know the rule of thirds. Show the other side of it. Show my neighborhood and Lake Park. Show it from that view and cut it off right at the building. All of a sudden it looks a lot more dense. I just ask you, don't reward mediocrity. Don't reward somebody trying to circumvent the system. And you're real quick, typically a request such as this would be made under a public petition. However, it is being brought in this manner as the developer cannot wait until the second meeting of October. That's not your problem. Thanks, man.
Thanks, sir.
Your final speaker on this item is Garrett Byron.
For the record, Garrett FX Byron. I'm only here because I'm wondering myself. I'm the owner of the Pine Ridge Corners PUD that's on Pine Ridge Road at the I-75 exit. I was proposing a 26-story automobile museum there. And Mike Bosey said he'd give me at least 6 stories. So I'm kind of wondering when stuff comes up before you that they're waiting for the deadline, and that's one thing you guys I've learned never ever allow stuff like this. You can't say, hey, well, you got to sign this document or you're going to lose this, that, and the other thing. And I'm there like, I don't even know what they're planning to do anymore. It's just a question. When you guys are put on the hot spot right here, it's just poor planning. And I've always had planning that required way too much, public information. But this is out of my league totally. Thank you for allowing me to share that, because I just shake my head every time I come up here and say, boy, some things just don't make a lot of sense. And this is one of them. Thank you.
All right. We've kind of beaten this to death here. I had made a suggestion that we might want to give them the opportunity to meet with our staff and clarify whether or not this is really does vest them at 120 units, or if there's some flexibility. Commissioner Hall?
I agree with your decision to postpone this, but one suggestion, and I don't know if this is a possibility, if we can't modify the form, maybe we can attach a cover letter that says that these units may be permissible, but certainly not vested with this form. If that wouldn't allow us to allow them to ask for financing, not keeping us on the hook.
All right, why don't we go ahead and put this at the end of our agenda during the lunch hour, whenever you get an opportunity to talk to Mr. Klatzkow. And I'm sure if Heidi Ashton is here, but whoever else in your office, obviously, that would need to be in.
And I'll bring in Mr. Bosey and Mr. French to this too.
Happy to do that, Mr. Chairman. I think my client wanted to say a couple words, if you may.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. I just want to clarify a few things. It's not sketchy. And Coach, I'm not trying to pull a quick one. I've been studying this for more than a year. The reality of it is, I should be able to do 91 units per acre under Live Local. I have the density. I have the height. The county is not allowing me to do this. Ask the attorney. We could have this discussion right now. Thank you.
Well, please have that discussion during the break so that there can be some response to us.
I want it on public record.
Thank you.
Chairman, could I just?
Yes, sir.
I just want to kind of bring this plane in a little bit. They have been speaking to us for some time. It's not like this is just,
right.
They came to the county with Live Local rules in hand. They were using our mini triangle PUD, the numbers of density we use on that particular project, the height of the bank building right next to their lot. It would have gave them, like he was saying, if Live Local was written in a way that it was clear and decisive, but it's not. Live Local's changed 3 times in the past 3 years with the language. And what happened was, when they came in and said, listen, by right, we can build a 75-foot building at almost 90 units per acre on this site just by Live Local, and it wouldn't even come to the Board of County Commissioners. But because they were using the footprint in the mini triangle as their comparable for density. But when the county and Mr. Bosey sent them a letter of rejection because they said that, no, you got to read further on and Live Local, the footprint in the triangle was a special condition through the CRA. It was a one-time kind of deal. And in Live Local, there's something that says those are excluded from the comparables. And that's where all this got gummed up over like a 6-month period while they were trying to do it through the Live Local, through the channels. They thought they had the right to do it. Then it all got to this point today where now they want to use the other statute, get us to sign the letter of, whatever approval, say it can go up to 120, then they can go to the state. It's a lottery to get the money. They wouldn't even know till March if they even get it. And I know, from what I understand, if they don't get it, the project's dead anyways. So I just wanted to bring it, everybody in the room, that this is not like something just came to us 3 weeks ago and they want us to sign this letter. This was something that's been going on. It was a misinterpretation when they initially were applying through Live Local. The county rejected what they were applying for because in Live Local, later on in there's other language that I think was overlooked. And that's why we are here today. So just let everybody understand.
All right, well then I'm going to suggest again that we delay this until the end of the meeting. Mr. Bosey, you're going to need to be involved in the discussion, and I'd like an update on the Live Local, how that worked as well. So we need some clarification, and we're just not going to be able to do it on the fly here. So if that's okay with you, Mr. Klatzkow, it's going to interrupt your lunch hour, but
I can stand losing a few calories.
yeah, we'll make it up to you later.
I got protein drink.
All right, we need to take a break. We're going to come back at 10 minutes after 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. We'll be back.
Take your seats. Ms. Patterson, where
Yes, sir.
are we?
Sir, we're going to return to zoning now. We're going to take,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you please take your seats.
we're moving on to items 9B and item 9C. These are companion items. They will require participants to be sworn in. 9B is a recommendation to approve an ordinance rezoning real property from residential single-family 3 zoning district to a residential tourist zoning district within the Vanderbilt Beach Residential Tourist Overlay zoning district for a project to be known as Paricio Club. I hope I said that right. The subject, 1.35 plus minus acre beachfront property, is located along the Gulf of America on the west side of Gulf Shore Drive, just south of the intersection of Gulf Shore Drive and Bayview Avenue in Section 29, Township 48 South, Range 25 East, Collier County, Florida. Its companion item 9C is a recommendation to approve a resolution for a conditional use to allow a private club within a residential tourist. I just lost my place. I'm sorry. Within a residential tourist, Vanderbilt Beach Residential Tourist Overlay zoning district pursuant to section 2.03.02.E1C5 of the Collier County Land Development Code. The subject, 1.35 plus minus acre beachfront property, is located along the Gulf of America on the west side of Gulf Shore Drive, just south of the intersection of Gulf Shore Drive and Bayview Avenue in section 29, Township 48 South, Range 25 East, Collier County, Florida. If I could, we'll go through and get the commission's disclosures, and then we'll get everybody sworn in by the court reporter.
All right, Commissioner Cobalt.
Yes, I have meetings, correspondence, and emails on both of these items.
Commissioner Hall?
I've got it all on 9B and 9C, meetings, correspondence, emails, and calls.
Commissioner McCain?
Meetings, emails, and calls.
And Commissioner LaCastro?
Same, meetings, emails, and calls.
And I have the same thing as well.
With that, anyone who will be participating, including public speakers, please stand to be sworn in by the court reporter. Very good. We'll begin with Mr. Jovanovich.
Good morning. For the record, Rich Jovanovich on behalf of the applicant, which is, Amy, you messed me up, Paricio Club, LLC, and David Tingley is the representative for the applicant. You have some of the usual suspects on my team. You have Bob Mulhare and Ellen Summers are our planners. Mark Saltana is our architect. Pat Treffs is our landscape architect. Jim Banks is online, is our transportation consultant, and Tim Hall is our environmental consultant. This is the approximately 1.35 acre parcel that is the subject of both petitions. And as you can see, it's adjacent to the La Playa Hotel and the La Playa Beach Club. So our request is to basically construct a private beach club on this 1.35 acres adjacent to a private beach club. So we are essentially extending the RT zoning that exists on the property adjacent to us to our parcel. However, we are basically gutting all of the uses allowed in the RT zoning, and the only remaining use is the beach club that has to go through the conditional use process, which is the second petition before you today. So you have two petitions related exclusively to establishing a private beach club. I will tell you that staff's recommending approval. The Planning Commission recommended approval. We were scheduled to be on your summary agenda, but you received, I believe, a letter of objection from Phil Whistler, I think, or I'm not sure I'm saying his last name correctly. I did look through the letters. I looked through the speakers, and I didn't notice him as one of the speakers. You have 22 speakers. I could tell you that I think I recognized all names but one. They're all on my team. or on my side to speak in favor of the petition. So I can shortcut the public speakers so you can hopefully stay for your time certain for Costco if that is the direction the board would like us to go. We are in the urban residential subdistrict under your comprehensive plan. Residential tourist zoning is consistent with your comprehensive plan. As I mentioned, we are extending the existing RT, which extends all the way up to that blue box. We're extending the RT over R2 parcels of property for the beach club. And we have a presentation that Bob can take you through regarding the master plan. You've all seen the staff materials. You've seen the proposed master plan. You've received numerous letters of support in favor of the petition. I will have Bob briefly go through the master plan, and then if you want to go to public speakers or speak to staff, whatever is the direction that the board would like to go.
All right, let me, no one's lit up here yet. Why don't we hear the brief presentation? But I think make it brief, and we'll see if there are any questions. First of all, in terms of the speakers, are there any speakers here that are here in opposition to this petition? Okay, so we certainly want to hear from you. The other speakers, I'm sure will be somewhat repetitive, so I don't know that we need to hear from all the other speakers. Obviously, you're welcome to speak, but we're not going to need to hear 17 or 18 comments in support. Okay. Let's hear the presentation, and then we'll get to the public comment.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Bob Mulhare with Bowman Consulting Group. On the visualizer is a master plan. Just want to point out a couple of things. I have a minimum 21-foot setback to the north. There is a beach access along the north as well. A 21-foot minimum setback on the south. And obviously you can see that the structure is largely located so as to maximize the amount of beach. This dune will be replanted. It was destroyed during one of the storms or multiple storms. That will be replanted. Access is here and here. There are relatively few parking spaces, I think 17, because we have a commitment that all of the members, other than those who have a handicap reason, will be bused to the site, in a luxury van. I guess bust is probably not the correct word, but they will be shuttled to the site in a luxury van operated by the beach club. This exhibit is an overall landscape exhibit. Let me just go to the next one, because we talked about dune restoration, so I did want to point out that we have certain types of natural dune vegetation, which is very helpful, not only to this particular site, but obviously in terms of storm, minimizing the damage from wave action. A couple of architectural renderings. That's a front perspective. It looks like a large single-family home. Just an area, I'm not sure why that's in there. In terms of the building height, in this particular exhibit in red, you see two single-family homes outlined with the proposed beach club behind it. And you can see that the two single-family homes built lot line to lot line, which is usually what happens because of the cost of the lots up there, would actually have less view corridor and less open space than what we're proposing. Rich mentioned most of the conditions of approval. The only use that we're retaining in RT is the private beach club. We've limited the height to 38 feet zoned and 57 feet actual. Hours of operation, 8 a.m. till 11, except that the use of the pools and access to the beach will cease 1 hour after sunset. Obviously, we're going to comply with sea turtle requirements. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that is important to, I guess I'll conclude with maximum trip generation is very low. we're at 19 two-way PM peak hour net trips, and that's because the shuttle will bring multiple people to the site as opposed to them driving their individual cars. We had a neighbor information meeting on April 7th. 3 members of the public were there and 5 members by Zoom. And I got Rich behind me, so I better sit down.
I just wanted to conclude by, obviously my client spent a lot of time with the neighbors. You've received several letters of support from the neighbors, including the neighbor immediately north of us. So we've spent a lot of time designing this to be consistent with the neighborhood, as you can see by the number of speakers, which will not all speak, but they're pretty much from the neighborhood speaking in favor of what we're proposing. It's a good project. It's going to get people off of the already crowded beach by the Ritz, moving them here to this portion of the beach. We took care in the traffic by using shuttles only, as you can see by Bob's testimony regarding only having 19 PM peak hour trips. So it's been very well received by the neighborhood and the neighbors. And that's a brief presentation. We can get into a lot more detail if you would like us to, but I will turn it over to the Commissioner.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Rich, I had one question emailed to me that I didn't really know how to answer. There's something about public access along the beach from the water line to something. Could you just,
Absolutely,
in a half a nutshell, explain that to us, so the public know that they're still going to be able to walk back and forth?
Absolutely. The question we received too, and there are other beach clubs that are similarly situated. What the beach clubs do is basically keep about a 15-foot wide sandy beach area available for the public to continue to walk up and down the beach. So when you have high tide, you're not going to have to walk in the water to keep moving up and down the beach. So what the beach clubs do is basically stop putting their chairs out 15 feet. They leave a 15-foot wide swath of sandy beach for people to walk up and down. So nobody's going to be walking in the water. Access up and down the beach will be maintained, just like the perpendicular access points immediately adjacent to this parcel will remain in place.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, we've had some, in the distant past, we've had some complaints with some of the hotels actually blocking public access. Florida law just changed, I think, this past year to make it clear that the public does have the right to traverse the beach. And so we're, just for the public's interest, we do make sure that right of passage along the beach is not impinged by
correct.
Anybody.
And we're not seeking to change the public's ability to walk up and down the beach. Right. The public's not using this area anyway to lay out because they're uncomfortable laying out in someone's backyard, but they will continue to be able to walk up and down the beach.
Mr. Mosey, do you have a staff report?
Mike Bosey, Planning and Zoning Director. Staff is recommending approval of the rezone as consistent with the GMP, and would note that there were 15 conditions of approval that have been agreed upon by the applicant, and staff is recommending approval of the conditional use subject to those 15 additional restrictions that we think provide for a good match within this area in terms of the shuttling of the participants. And the aspect on the north side of this property, when they showed the overview of the site plan, you could see there's a 10-foot public beach access that's being maintained, so people can be able to access the beach on the north side of their property. So beach access is not going to be prohibited by this by this project. And with that, staff would entertain any questions that you may have.
All right, I don't see any commissioners with questions, so we'll go to the public comment. We do have one gentleman that I think is in opposition to this, and I think the other speakers were all in support. Mr. Jovanovich, obviously we don't need to hear from 15 or 20 people saying the same thing. If you've got an individual that might want to carry the message, that would be helpful to us.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could I make a comment on the record here? If anyone on Zoom is opposed to this item, could you raise your hand on the Zoom right now? That way I can determine if they're against it. I do have one.
Okay. So we're going to make sure that we hear from the folks that are in opposition to this.
Do you want to hear from them first, and then I could tell you whether I want to bring up public speakers, or do you want me to send the first? We could probably put the first 4 or 5 speakers up, or I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but.
Yeah, I just want to, we've got a long agenda. Let's hear from the folks that are in opposition to this, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Sir, you rose your hand. Could you come up, please? What's your name, sir? Okay, this is Miguel Lopez. He'll be followed on Zoom by Marcia Oenick.
Good morning. I'm the only one that's against this thing, huh? Interesting. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Miguel Lopez, and I'm here as a longtime resident and frequent visitor of Vanderbilt Beach. I want to share my concern that our beach, which is public by law and by tradition, is slowly being taken over by private interest. Right now, Vanderbilt Beach already has 3 hotels, 2 beach clubs, 2 timeshares, and multiple condos. Each fills the sand with rows of lawn chairs, often empty. That's a major problem. A lot of lawn chairs and empty, just taking up space, leaving little room for everyday residents. If we continue approving private beach clubs and high-density developments, we'll turn this shared beach into a patchwork of private zones. I've personally been yelled at or told to leave for simple activities like cast netting at La Playa, Floridian Club, and Gulf Point. They've all kicked me out and told me to leave because it's a private beach, and it's not. Even though the Vanderbilt Beach ordinance clearly states the beach is public, from Wiggins Pass down to marker 31.5, which is all the way down to the end almost of Bay Colony. So the whole beach is basically public. That's not how a public beach should feel. Every approval sets a precedent. We're inching towards what some call Miami West, walls of condos and exclusive sand. Meanwhile, Governor DeSantis signed Senate Bill 1622 this year to reaffirm public beach access rights. So on one hand, the state says public, the county ordinance says public, yet this request asks you to approve something private. In addition, more paving, larger buildings also worsen flooding and storm surge impacts, something we cannot ignore after the storm we faced. Commissioner, your decision is easy. Buy this property back from the owners, build a public beach club, have public bathrooms and bike racks, or don't approve the project. Let's keep Vanderbilt Beach the community beach it was meant to be, not another gated strip of sand. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Just so you know, this board's very committed to making sure that the public has fully legal access to our beaches. So if you're ever ordered off of the beach because you're cast netting or doing it, if you let us know, we won't permit that to happen.
I talk to code enforcement. I meet with code enforcement once every couple of months. I let them know, and it's continuously. They keep putting cones up, they keep putting signs up, they keep kicking people off the beach.
I don't want to get into a lengthy conversation. I'm just saying, if that happens to you again, contact the county commissioner's offices, and then we'll deal with it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Your next speaker on Zoom is Marcia Oenick. Marcia, you're being prompted to unmute yourself. If you'll do so at this time. I see that you have, Marcia, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Marcia Oenick. I live in Naples Park. I sent an email to each of you yesterday with this request. I now put it in this public record. Vanderbilt Beach Customary Use Ordinance 2018-31 protects the public's long-standing customary use of Vanderbilt Beach. Section 7 of the ordinance, quote, obstruction of Vanderbilt Beach. It shall be unlawful for any person to create, erect, or construct any fence, structure, or barrier or restraint within Vanderbilt Beach. It goes on, I'm not going to read all that. Despite this, property owners are still putting unused lounge chairs to keep the public out, an unlawful activity. Thus, the conditions of use document, attachment C, provided by the applicant contains an alarming statement. Quote, item 13, beach chairs, umbrellas, cabanas, and similar devices supplied by the club shall only be used on the beach in front of the club, defined as beach area enclosed by the north and south properties of the line extended to the edge of the water, unquote. While this sounds like it makes sense, may be useful to put beach chairs up. It may be used to put beach chairs to block access to the edge of the water, blocking access to areas the ordinance protects for public use. As previously indicated, unused beach chairs are often used in this manner, yes, preparing for guests, but if sitting unused, the impact is to block access. This reads to me like the club will be allowed to block access to the public to the water's edge. Will you please require the following additional item for conditional use? Item, I had 18 based on the document I saw. The club shall operate consistently with Ordinance 2018-31, which particular attention to Section 3. Vanderbilt Beach shall include not only that part of the beach seaward of the mean high water line, but also include the dry sandy area adjacent to the mean high water line up to the vegetation line, unquote. And Section 5, except as provided below, the public shall have the right to recreate along all of Vanderbilt Beach. Recreation shall include walking, jogging, sunbathing with or without a beach umbrella, picnicking, fishing, building sandcastles, and other similar recreational beach activities. Probably we should also include Section 7 as well. Without explicitly including this as an item of the conditions of use document, either as a separate item or as an addition to item 13, it will appear to the club that the county is granting permission for the club to disregard Ordinance 2018-31, the Collier County Beach Customary Use Ordinance, and to restrict access by the public to this region of Vanderbilt Beach. Verbal assurances at the Planning Commission or here is insufficient for this or any other situation being defined by a legal ordinance with carefully constructed language. Unfortunately, this effective granting of the right to block the beach will likely provide a precedent for further restrictions to Vanderbilt Beach and negate the good efforts of the county and this body to preserve Vanderbilt Beach for county residents and the tourism industry the county wishes to promote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the two in opposition, sir, that we have.
Mr. Yovanovich, you have a few speakers that are in support. Is that what you wanted to present?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask four to come up, but just kind of make some comments in response to the two speakers before I bring my public speakers up. First of all, I think what the last speaker, we are not going to block the water all the way, the beach all the way to the water. So we should modify the one condition that talks about the boundaries being to the water, to the Gulf of America, to say we will retain a 15-foot sandy beach area between the high water line and we'll maintain a 15-foot sandy beach area from the high water line. That will allow the public to continue to walk up and down the beach.
And the high water line with erosion and all will change. But
you'll be able to see it because it's obviously the hard packed sand. Right. So that's why I said white sandy beach. We'll maintain that 15-foot area. And candidly, the public's not using any of this area right now. I could show you picture upon a picture of nobody using that portion of the beach behind the homes. So we're not interfering with the historic use of the beach. In fact, we're providing more access to the beach for the public. With that, I'm just going to ask Shantae Pemberton, Jim Terlesky, Nancy Byrne, and Ken Rollins. Limit it down to those four public speakers. They're pretty much representative of the entirety of it.
All right, and before the public speakers begin, Mr. Klatskow, there was some discussion of Ordinance 2018-31, the Vanderbilt Beach Access Ordinance. I'm assuming that this petition is subject to that ordinance.
I would assume that too, but like suspenders with the belt, and if Mr. Ivanovich agrees to that condition, I would put it in there.
Well, I think we need to, the conditions we have, what I don't want someone to come in and say is, under that ordinance, you have to remove the beach chairs. Because she was implying that would be a barrier, and she doesn't want any barrier. All the beach clubs that are out there are permitted to put beach chairs out, and that's all we're saying. We prefer to handle it through assuring the 15-foot sandy beach area. I don't want someone to come in and say, move the chairs, I want to play beach volleyball.
Mr. Bowden,
That's the concern.
just before the speakers start, you've heard my question to the county attorney. You've heard Mr. Yovanovich's response. Is there any concern on your part as to the blockage of public access if we approve this petition?
Mike Bosey, Planning and Zoning Director, and I would agree with Attorney Klatzkow. The additional language that Rich has provided for will alleviate those concerns that staff would have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Miller?
Well, if
Whoever's
you're
next.
someone who Rich listed, please go. Are you Shantae? Please state your name before you begin.
Hopefully they lined up, and I hope I didn't butcher their names too badly.
Shantae Pemberton. I'm Vice President of Client Relations for Paraiso Beach Club. I'm reading a letter from Mr. McGee, Mike McGee. Dear Commissioners, I purchased my home at 10150 Gulf Shore that a beach club may be developed across the street, and I'm very supportive of the project. My house is almost directly across the street from the club and just north of on Gulf Shore Boulevard, or Gulf Shore. Having lived in and around Vanderbilt Beach area for many years, I understand both the opportunities and challenges of our community. Living directly across from the shoreline and even with public access easements to the beach, I see firsthand how little the usable space in front of private homes is actually used. Even during the most crowded holidays, the beaches in front of easement 4, 5, and 6 are almost never used. I saw someone on Wink News say that they use easement number 4, and not being able to sit there won't seem right. Easement number 4 can still be used by everyone. If you turn right, no one is there, and everyone knows this. Not sure why anyone would go further from public parking and pass easements 5, 6, and 7 with empty beaches to get to easement number 4. The person also mentioned his taxpayer dollars would be to groom and replenish the beach for a beach club. That may be the case with 2 homes, but the real estate sales taxes paid by a club would more than pay for any grooming and replenishment. In fact, the taxes paid by the club will probably be 20 times what is paid today by 2 homeowners. A thoughtfully managed club would give residents and members a welcoming place to enjoy the beach without feeling as though they are intruding on someone's property. It would also provide a tranquil setting where friends and neighbors can gather, which adds real value to the community. We all recognize the problem on the public beaches. This club offers a positive solution that will help alleviate crowding and provide an alternative for those who want to enjoy Vanderbilt Beach in a respectful and responsible way. I strongly support the process, and I hope the county approves. It would be a win for all parties involved and a meaningful addition to our neighborhood. Sincerely, Michael McGee. The second letter is from Kevin DiDonato. He's the general manager at the Tiburon Golf Club. At Tiburon Golf Club, we currently provide shuttle service for our members and guests to the public beaches at Vanderbilt, where we reserve beach chairs and umbrellas through Cabana Dan. Our parent company, Troon, has been engaged with the Paradiso Beach Club on consulting basis and is exploring opportunities to formalize a direct relationship should the club receive the necessary approval from the county. With this in mind, if Paradiso Beach Club is approved, we would like to establish a reciprocal agreement that allows our members to visit the Paradiso Beach Club as an alternative to the public beaches. Tiburon already owns and operates its own shuttle service, which would transport members directly to and from the club. We believe this arrangement would enhance the beach experience for our members while helping to reduce congestion and parking challenges at the public access points. I strongly support the approval and the proposed beach club. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, please state your name.
Hi, Jim Sirkleski. I currently live at 103 Bayview, which is about 200 feet from the proposed site, and I'm actually building the house that is directly across from the new beach club. So if anybody's affected by this building, it is my family. And I will tell you that I have been very, very impressed with how these gentlemen have come and approached our neighborhood and just have been so collaborative about what they're building. And I applaud them for that. I think that, you know, the way they approach this, at first, I'm not gonna lie, my wife and I were a little nervous about, 7 10-story structure going up, and they've overcome all the obstacles that we thought could be possible. It's no different than 2 homes going up. I am supportive because I think that right now it's an eyesore. There's an ugly house there. There's an empty lot. It's never been cleaned up. People park there all the time. I mean, just people come and park right on the beach, right in front of my house. So this project is absolutely going to be great. I encourage everybody to support it, and I do believe that it's going to be great for our immediate community and for anybody else that chooses to join. And the comment about anybody opposing this is, well, join it then. You can join. Anybody has the opportunity to join such an amazing beach club. So, come join it and be part of something really fun. So I just thank the gentleman for, approaching us in the way they have. They actually gave my family the ability to still keep our view. And I can't tell you, I don't know any developer that would come to someone and say, hey, we want to make sure that you still have your view of the Gulf of America. And when they came to me and said, and collaborated with my family and said, we're going to keep that view for you, I support it 100%. It's fantastic. So it's going to be exciting. I'm really happy to support it, and I thank them for really kind of how they approach this project. So thank you.
Ma'am, please state your name to begin with.
Nancy Burns. I live 4 houses north of the proposed beach club, and I want you to know I think this is going to increase usage of that area rather than decrease. And I've lived there for 30 years. I think it's an excellent opportunity for all of us, and I think the way they've gone about this has been exceptional. So we support it.
Eileen Rollin. I live on Seabreeze Avenue. We've lived there full time since 2016 and owned condos on Vanderbilt Beach right down the street since 2011. And all I have to say is that our sense of community that we have is, we don't really have one. We don't have a neighborhood gathering area for our little area where other communities do. And these developers have really given us that feeling that we're going to have this sense of community in our neighborhood. After Hurricane Ian, we all gathered in the street to see how our neighbors were doing, checking on Nancy and checking on our other neighbors who are around. And it just gives us that feeling that we have this neighborhood community place where we can gather, check on each other, be together, and really, spend time other than hanging out in the street. So we appreciate them for doing this project.
Thank you. My name is Ken Rollin, and I want to thank my wife for allowing me to speak. We live on Seabreeze, and I've had condos on the Gulf Shore building. I have 2 of them currently, and we were displaced by Hurricane Ian, and so we lived on the beach for the last 3 years until recently when we moved in our house. And I consider myself an expert on Vanderbilt Beach usage because we walked that beach pretty much every day for the last 3 years, literally hundreds of times. And usually we go from our Gulf Shores building, we go south, we go all the way to the Ritz, fill up with water, and come back. And I could tell you I've never been impeded by any of the establishments, not by the Ritz, not by the Floridian, not by really anyone there in La Playa. And I just want to tell you that anyone who says that that beach in front of those 11 houses are being used, it's absolutely incorrect. Factually, I could tell you the use along those 11 houses is de minimis. If there's 2 or 3, maybe 4 people at high season sitting in that area, that would be a lot. So the give that the public is complaining about, that there's so much beach being given up, that's not true. First of all, it's still the private property. Secondly, no one's using it anyway. And let's get all those people from Naples 1 coming over there instead of crowding the beachhead that's already blanket to blanket. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair, that's all he had lined up. With your indulgence, we had 2 people on Zoom that did not raise their hand in opposition. I would like to ask them to raise their hand if they're okay waiving their time, if that's all right with you. Julie Casper and Sally Hughes, if you're okay with waiving your time to speak, please raise your hands on Zoom. They both are. Thank you.
All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have to
Commissioner
present.
Castro.
Mr. Ivanovich, just had a couple quick questions. to keep all these residents off the street, like she said.
It's a rough crowd. It's a rough crowd.
First of all, to that one husband, we got a text from your wife. She said, "Don't let him speak." But we no. But one sincere question I have: do the residents get preference? Do they get a discount? Because I mean, if you just put on an open sign and then all these people that live 10 miles away all of a sudden become all your members, then all the positive things that they're saying, oh, we can't wait to like have this as a gathering place for our neighborhood. So has that been discussed so that the neighbors
I don't know
maybe?
I don't know that we've got into that level of detail, but I can assure you that the immediate area has been actively involved in this, and we did not want to presume we had an approval.
Yeah.
So I don't have the list yet, but I'm sure that the people that
I only say that because a lot of your pro people are folks that live within walking distance, and I would hate to hear in the end that it was, it was the price point was beyond what they can afford, or it was first come first serve, and you were bombarded by people that live at the Ritz Tiburon who wanted another private beach club, and the locals that are all on your side and pushing approval. Then in the end, we're maybe forced out because this club only holds several hundred people, from what I understand.
It's gonna. I can assure you, although it looked like a rough crowd, they're all qualified to be members and have expressed interest.
Okay.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. I've had numerous emails in support of this, so I thank everybody for coming, even the person that was opposing. It's always important to hear your input. And with that, I will make a motion to approve this beach club.
All right, we have two items. Let's make the motion.
I'll amend the motion to include both items.
9B and 9C.
And that's with the modification for the 15-foot
That's correct.
Sandy Beach area, right?
With all of the staff stipulations. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that passes unanimously.
Commissioners, with your agreement, we do have a representative here from the city of Naples who's waiting on item 11H. If we could jump to that one, that will leave our stormwater item for after lunch. But item 11H is a recommendation to approve an interlocal agreement with the city of Naples for the use of parcel ID 010496000004, otherwise known as the Jolly Bridge site, to remove debris and receive offload pilings for the Naples Pier renovation.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you please quietly exit the room, we're conducting business.
We do have Mr. Bob Middleton here from the City of Naples, as well as Ms. Trinity Scott, your department head for Transportation Management Services. So with that, I will hand it over to Bob or Trinity. Bob.
Trinity, I forgot which one it is.
For the record, Trinity Scott, Transportation Management Services Department head. A few months back, the City of Naples, Mr. Middleton was here requesting an interlocal agreement for the use of Bayview Park for the restoration of the Naples Pier. After the board's decision on that, Mr. Middleton reached out to me to discuss the use of the Jolly Bridge site. And so Mr. Middleton and I have been speaking over the last probably few months now regarding the use of the site. And he's here to make a presentation, and I am going to get it pulled up for him. I saw it earlier. Now it's gone. Have it to where you can put it up here while I look? Oh, there he is. Oh, what is it with you and technical difficulties? Anyway, I'll turn it over to Mr. Middleton.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Middleton, the Public Works Director. That was nearly 2 for 2 for my last 2 appearances before you. But good morning, Chairman, board members. This is the city's request to approve an interlocal agreement with the county to allow the use of the Jolly Bridge site for a few critical operations related to the construction of the Naples Pier. As you recall, the Naples Pier was critically damaged after Hurricane Ian, and the cost to rebuild the pier is going to be about $23 million. Thankfully, we've received TDC funding from you at $2.2 million. We've also received funding from the state line item appropriation pot of money for $5 million. We're also waiting on word from FEMA on what their donation will be to the project. Want to thank Commissioner LaCastro and Commissioner Colwell for the time they took and the efforts they provided letters of recommendation to the Army Corps of Engineers that the pier be expeditiously repaired. Thankfully for those efforts, wanted to announce that last week we did receive Army Corps permit for construction. We still have to hear back from FEMA, but I think they were holding out on the Corps of Engineers approval for that. So we have that, so we're looking for additional permits from them. Two critical operations need to take place to make the pier a successful project. One is once they begin the demolition of the pier, that will be the removal of the existing concrete pilings that are there. Instead of just hauling them out and disposing of them in the landfill, a more beneficial use of that would be to place them on our existing reefs that we have out in the Gulf of America. To do that, the Army Corps has got specific parameters and regulations on the cleaning and inspection of those old pilings. The Army Corps requires landside inspection of those pilings prior to deployment to the reefs. So the plan is to, once the contractor removes the pilings, to clean them, put them on a barge, clean them, and then take them to the Jolly Bridge site, where they will be offloaded on land to allow the Army Corps representatives to inspect those pilings to make sure they're acceptable to be loaded back on the barge and then to be deployed out to the reefs. And the other critical operation besides the staging of the old pilings is to have a unloading site for staging of the new 100-foot pilings. And there will be 110 of those pilings. Alternative sites. Currently, we have an interlocal agreement with the county to use the Bayview Park area to stage the non-concrete disposal material to be disposed from the pier and for landside disposal. We're also using the lower landings, which is within the city of Naples, near Naples Bay, to stage 120 of the 70-foot pilings that will be required for construction of the new pier. We'll also be storing the epee wood at that location. That was the previous material that was used in the last rebuild of the pier, and we're going back with the epee wood for decking. Other sites, we looked at Big Carlos Pass. It was not a suitable location, and Cape Coral was not a sufficient location. To go a little bit more into the operation, Operation 1 is the reef material deployment. It'll be a landside operation where the Army Corps will have a chance to inspect those pilings before they are loaded back on a barge and then for deployment. There's a possibility that they may not need to do that operation once they see what the old pilings look like, but for right now, it will be, all the pilings will have to be inspected by the Army Corps. Cleaning and inspection of the pilings will be done prior to that material being taken to the Jolly Bridge site. When you look at the new pilings and how they're going to be transported to this location, we're talking the 110 pilings. Our plan from our contractor is that there will be 3 truckloads per day.
Can you go back? I think you're off of the slide. I think you. There you go. This is about what you're about to talk about.
About to, but I think these are the 100-foot pilings. when you look at the number of pilings and the time that we're proposing to use the landings, there's going to be 37 truckloads. 37 days that trucks will be going on to Marco Island. 3 trucks per day for 3 days per week to carry 110 pilings over the construction period of 6 to 8 months. So we're looking at 37 days out of those 6 to 8 months that there will be traffic from our vehicles, our trucks hauling those pilings. We've looked at the truck route. I'll show you an example of where the truck route is. There's going to be no trucks on the weekends, and like I mentioned, up to 3 days per week and 3 truckloads per day. Here's the truck route. This is a little squeezed in here, but this is the main truck route. Here's 951 or Collier Boulevard. This is the staging site where we will transfer the material. The proposed truck route right now is to go to Collier Boulevard and then turn left onto San Marcos and make another left onto Bald Eagle Drive and then make a right back out onto 951 to get the trucks headed in a northerly direction. We found that it will not be a good idea to try to unload and cross the northbound lane of 951 to get this site. So right now, this is our proposed truck route. We have been in contact with the staff at Marco Island concerning the use of the Jolly Bridge site and have had discussions with them by email on the truck route. Those Marco Island employees are the Assistant City Manager, Casey Lucius, Justin Martin, the Public Works Director, and the Chief of Police, Franzio. And we've had several emails back and forth with them. The other thing is, once we get closer to issuing a notice to proceed, we will meet with those city staff to make sure that we're on the same page. If there's other alternates we need to look at as far as a truck route, but we have had communications with the Marco Island staff. This is shows the location of the staging area. It's a little bit busy, but what I'll do is take you through some of the important factors on this. Number one, this location right here, or any location, we will install a sign that will read something to the effect: the use of this site is in support of the Historical Naples Pier Rebuild Project, to inform passersby as to what the operation is going on there. There's going to be 2 double gate 40-foot entrance and exit points, is right here and right here, for trucks to enter and to drop off their pilings and then to exit the site. Over here on the south end, there's going to be a storage container, 2 500-gallon double-line fuel tanks, dual-wall fuel tanks, a porta potty. This site right here is site number 6. This is where the new piles will be stored. When they come off the truck, there will be a crane working in this area, which is the crane travel area and the processing area, to deploy the new pilings and to receive the old pilings, inspect them, and to put them back onto the barges. There's going to be 2 cranes that the contractor will use. One is a 160-foot by 50-foot wide barge, and a smaller barge is 130 feet by 40-foot wide. To finalize the description of this, there will be a privacy fence or a construction fence constructed, a 6-foot fence constructed around the entire perimeter of that with the green construction silt fencing. I put this in here as just a reminder. We do have an interlocal agreement with the county to use the Bayview Park, and those are the details of it. We will be using this site for non-concrete disposal of construction debris. It will be barged to that area, and we put together a scenario and a plan of how that site will be used. Like I said, we've been in contact with the Marco Island staff. It wouldn't be prudent for us to come before you requesting this interlocal agreement had we not spoken with the Marco Island staff. And we have. They have not told us outright no. They asked us a lot of questions, so we feel very comfortable with their acceptance and participation with us on this program. So on behalf of the mayor and the city council, we would appreciate your consideration to approve this interlocal agreement and to complete the crucial steps in construction of the Naples Pier. I would also like to introduce some of our staff to the with us. Number one here is Bruce Selfon. He's the project manager and assistant city manager. We've got Kevin Land with Shoreline Foundations, and our consultant Tim Hall with Terrell Hall and Associates. I believe that concludes everything.
Okay.
Pardon me? Bruce Selfon.
Good morning. Thank you all. I just wanted to say, I'm Bruce Selfon, the project manager for the pier. Just wanted to make sure one clarification. The 70-foot pilings, which are going to go closer to the land, are actually going to be put onto the pier by a giant crane that's going to be built on the beach with the permission of the FAA, and that's how those piles are going to be placed. The 100-footers, which are going farther out into the Gulf, cannot be placed by the crane. That's why we absolutely have to have a barge that takes them from where they're placed onto the pier for installation by 2 cranes that'll be farther out in the water. So I just want to clarify that as much as we could, the staging, we're giving the contractor 2/3 of the pier parking lot. We're giving them a staging area on 12th Avenue South. We're using lower landings, which is available for storage. All the city sites which were available to us, we are utilizing completely for their support, but we need your support for the use of this county site in order to make this all work. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Chairman. You all know this, the pier in the city falls within my District 4, and I've been involved in this since day one, trying to help move this project along. I know permitting was one of the big things that we had issues with the Army Corps. And I just want to address, I mean, I understand we were talking about the reef sites. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't the reef sites, or those are actually going to use our permit, the county's locations and the county's permits. So it's actually a joint operation. It's actually a partially county operation using this site, let alone just the reconstruction of the pier, which everybody uses in this county. It's such an icon and tourist location. But isn't that true that the actual sites where the reefs, artificial reefs, are going to be created are on the piggybacking on our permits, because ours were still in force. We haven't been using them, so this is a good opportunity to go out and start using them on these locations under our permitting.
Yes, there are 4 county sites and 2 city sites that are in our permissions that we send to the federal authorities. We have to dive on the sites to see which ones are suitable under the new Army regs, but we're going to use whatever is the most cost-effective and available. You have to have flat, sandy area. You can't have area on to put the pilings where there could be encroachment onto marine life. So it's all very regulated. We actually have to have a diver every day dive on the site to make sure there's nothing down there that's come since the last time we've been there. It's very labor intensive, but very important from a sustainability point of view. That's why we're trying to work with everyone to accomplish it.
So basically, it's a pretty public project. It's not a private project. It's public for the county and public for the city. You know, and we're getting the opportunity to do something we've, had in place to do it for some time, and this is going to help us fulfill that mission with using our permit. The other thing is, I have a little history in traffic control and things like that. I know these trucks don't just roll up here, in a whim. They're coming. They're usually escorted by other vehicles with emergency lights and flags and long oversized load, basically like a convoy coming in. So these are not like just they're going to show up with this big tractor trailer truck with a 100-foot pier on it. My thing is, we're almost overthinking this to a point. We do construction all the time. We have from time to time lane closures, things like that pertaining to construction. We're talking 3 times a day, 37 days out of this whole project at the most, or around that number. Wouldn't it just make sense? There's a cut through to the north of this location with no other side streets. So there's nothing that can get on the streets from the northbound lanes at that cut through. And it's north of our Collier County Deepwater Launch area, which you keep referring to as the area we want to use as a staging area near the Jolly Bridge. And this is all on county property. This is all on the county side of the bridge. Wouldn't it be easier just to have a couple detailed deputies on the day the trucks arrive? We just shut the street down, put some information signs on one side of the Jolly Bridge, one on the other, let them know that on certain days, traffic will be interrupted momentarily. And then we shut the street down, they run down the opposite side of the road, and they pull into the spot, and it's a done deal. Wait for the next truck. And then we're not like going into the city of Marco and going through all these streets, making this extremely large thing with this caravan of trucks. To me, it just makes sense. It's not like we don't do it on a regular basis when it comes to construction. Even when we do maintenance on the side of the roads, we shut certain lanes down, you know, periodically. So this is, to me, I don't believe it's that much of a burden on the traffic that they know ahead of time that on certain times there's going to be a delay. And to drive a truck 1,000 feet down the opposite side of the lane with no traffic doesn't take that long. And once they're in, then the road's back open again. So I just throwing it out there.
Thank you, Commissioner. We considered the option of crossing the median, which is there, and seeing if we can have some direct access.
I'm not talking about the cut through close to the Jolly Bridge. If you go north,
right,
about a quarter of a mile, there's a big cut through. You stop the traffic there. You stop the traffic back at this loading site, not near the bridge, because the bridge would be a little bit more hazardous because they come over the bridge. You still have a grace period before they have to stop where the site is itself, where the offloading site in the Deepwater launch. Some people think of the one right under the bridge. This is not the one. This one's further up the street. So it gives you a grace period that they know they're going to be stopping. See the sign on the other side of the bridge. The sign then is illuminated saying, hey, you know, then the traffic stopped for momentarily while the truck comes down the opposite lane and then pulls into the site.
Let me, if I might, because we're not going to solve your transportation problem here on the fly, but perhaps you could work with the city staff to come up with a better.
Because I know he's saying that they don't have a concrete answer from Marco yet. And I'm just saying there's another option.
Well,
we don't even have to include Marco into this.
As I said, and you have Ms. Scott here, your transportation person. All I would say is that we were advised at the start, especially since we're going to be doing this during season to try to get off the beach before the beginning of the next turtle season, that we would be significantly impacting traffic both ways in and out of Marco Island, and if we could avoid that, we would. And that we also said there was FDOT issues in getting permissions, and it was an uncertain time frame from FDOT. So it seemed to us, and we could be wrong, and you'll certainly advise us, that the least painful alternative were these 110 truckloads with as you suggested, Commissioner, a truck with an escort fore and aft that would come through on 36 days, spread over the 6 to 8 month period, and making left turns, which I'm told are the easiest turns for the trucks to make, except for the final right turn lane back onto 41. And then, of course, when they leave, it's only a one-way operation. They don't go through Marco except on the way in. So that was what we were told is the preferred choice, and that's where we are at the moment. But you know, we'll take advice from everyone, and thank you for the suggestion.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Thank you, Chairman. I did write a professional but very strong letter to the Army Corps, who I have a lot of previous experience with, and they actually replied back to me personally and appreciated it, and hopefully what Commissioner Colwell did and what you all did helps speed everything along. However, this Jolly Bridge is in my district, okay? And so, nobody wants the pier built more than everybody who lives here. And we know we've got to sometimes, as I always say, eat the spinach a little bit, because sometimes there's no easy way to do it. But as I've told Trinity Scott, I'm disappointed that something a lot less intrusive hasn't been put together. I won't vote for this. So maybe in the interest of time, the other commissioners will say, well, you guys will just work all the details out. Well, it won't be with my vote, because I live on Marco, and cutting trucks all the way through the island because you guys can't figure out some way to have an easier cut through it or stop traffic. I like what Commissioner Colwell is suggesting, and maybe this isn't the meeting to do your homework for you, but I can tell you three trucks in the middle. Right now, Collier Boulevard on the entrance to Marco Island, and I realize your trucks aren't coming tomorrow, but right now it's half closed because they're doing a big water pipe construction project and a bunch of other things. You might be talking to the lower staff, but I can tell you right now, you don't have city council approval. And until you have that, where they say, oh yeah, we think 3 trucks a day traversing the entire island because they can't do a U-turn or they can't make a left turn is just fine. And I think our approval today of the barge plan implies that we're approving the whole plan. And then hear me out on the barges. I was hoping that there'd be a lot less intrusive or a lot more advantageous area somewhere, maybe north of the pier, and you're saying there isn't. But when you load those barges there, I'm very familiar with this area. When you load the barges there, here's what's going to happen in season. The barges going to and from then go under the Jolly Bridge, which isn't the Sunshine Skyway. It's actually the entrance and exit underneath the Jolly Bridge is actually pretty narrow. And when you have 3 or 4 fishing boats coming in and out of there at will, they're not all just going to get out of the way because a giant barge is coming through with construction materials. But if the barge is headed to the pier, so it goes under a tight Jolly Bridge for the size of the barge, then it has to go by the yacht club, then it has to go by Rose Marina on its way out to the Gulf of America. Then as it gets out to the Gulf, it makes a right-hand turn, and it goes all the way by Key Waden, where in season, sometimes there's 1,000 boats out there. Usually people sometimes that aren't very expert in driving a boat. People that rent boats at Rose Marina a lot of times are folks that, come here from Wisconsin, rent a boat, and they're out there, and maybe we've had issues, some safety issues. So you have a major barge that's fully loaded, traversing one of the most busy waterways as it goes all the way out to the pier, passing very, very busy places where boats are just sort of coming willy-nilly. And, I don't hear anything in your plan that says that barge is going to be led by some sort of police boat or something. I mean, when we see double-wide trailers coming down I-75, there's a pickup truck with giant lights that says, get out of the way, we're riding on 2 lanes. You need something like that for the barge. And then once the trucks start coming, the sheer fact that you're talking to people at the staff on Marco, I can tell you don't have approval from the elected city council members, and they're our counterparts. So you're asking for our permission for this plan, and I'm not trying to stop the rebuild of the pier, but I want to make sure we just don't sort of rubber stamp with minimal thought, and then it's the citizens on Marco in my district that heard nothing about 3 trucks a day going all the way around the circumference of the island just so they can get to the base of the Jolly Bridge that the trucks just passed, but couldn't do something creative like what Commissioner Colwell said. And I had even said, why don't we cut out a part of that middle island? They make an immediate left turn, then they exit, and then that small part of the island is reconstruction. And I was told that's impossible. But I don't think this is well thought out. I think there's a lot of safety concerns. And when a big chunk of this affects Marco Island, and you've talked to Casey and a few staff members, that doesn't give me confidence that you have, their support. So you have, my support to rebuild the pier, and I don't know every footprint in all of Collier and Lee County of where other places exist. The Jolly Bridge a lot of times is a quick default because it's been used in the past, but we've tried to protect that area from just willy-nilly using it. This is for the public good, so I get that. But I think when it comes to safety, the traversing of the island, how all these things are going to come together, especially in season, I don't believe it's well thought out. And I realize you're not doing it tomorrow, but that's why I told even Ms. Scott, I think you all coming to this Board of County Commissioner meeting today is premature, because I want to hear that everything's been marked out. And our approval today would send a signal to some of the people that haven't given the approval for this, that we've given the approval, and we can't speak for Marco Island. So the minute you hit that Jolly Bridge, all of a sudden the county's out of it. And I was hoping you would come to here with the city manager from Marco saying, you know, oh, we've thought all this out. We're going to have a lead with police cars. We're going to block off roads. We're going to do it safely. If I brief this right now to every citizen on Marco Island, their heads would explode. Now, if the city council briefed it and sold it and said, hey, we're all trying to be good stewards to fix the pier, but this won't get my vote today. There's too many unanswered questions, and there's some major safety issues. And I think we're sort of defaulting to what's the easiest thing, with little thought to how it would impact traffic, citizen safety, and all the above. So, I mean, I wrote a letter to the Army Corps, so I'm obviously in favor of the pier, but I think it's got to be done, you know, correctly and smartly, and also with thought to the impact to our citizens, and with the approval of groups it's going to affect, most notably Marco Island. And I know you don't have that yet. I know that for sure. So it won't get my vote today.
Commissioner McDaniel.
Yes, Trinity, if you would please, because I'm sitting here and I would like to approve your plan. Nobody wants to delay at all the reconstruction of our pier, but I actually have on my note, why aren't we just doing a temporary crossing on the median at 951, the median that's there? Tear it up, put a gravel road in, do the traffic control as has been suggested by 3 of us now. I have temporary crossing over their medium, and then we'll restore it after we're all done. We're only talking about, like you said, 3 trips a day over a certain period of time. Have the proper traffic control, and now, if there's some, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to hear DOT won't approve us crossing that median, because that's a county road.
Sorry, sir. You're not correct on that. That is a state road.
It changes.
Don't write that down.
But I bet from a safety point,
Don't write that down.
if they knew we were maybe traversing all of Marco Island, I think from a safety standpoint, I knew you were going to say that because I know it's not a county road.
Let me go
but-
here. I'm not,
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I apologize because I had County Road 951 in my brain. So let's, because I absolutely concur. 100-foot tractor trailer trying to traverse Marco Island on limited space, 2-lane roads, making left turns. Yes, we all know about that, but that's not going to be any day at the beach in and of itself. There's 3 of us up here that are talking a different truck route needs to be solved. I'd be happy to pass this forward, holding back that approval of that truck route, and come up with an alternative to be able to get into access to the point, either what Commissioner Kowal said, or tell the dang state to get out of the way and let us cross the median for 6-8 months to rebuild our pier.
Let me make a suggestion if I could, because obviously there's a transportation problem that needs to be fully evaluated. Today we're asked to whether or not they can use this particular site for staging. I think we can get through that hurdle, but also with instructions to our staff to work with the city staff and the Marco Island staff to come up with a better way to get the trucks in and out of there. To try to solve that at this time is going to be impossible. So if the board is okay with that, then
I'm okay. And that was kind of what I was suggesting was, approve the utilization of the site,
Right.
but figure out a different way to get the trucks in and out.
All right. If there's let's see if there's a motion to do that, and with the direction for our staff to help solve this transportation problem.
I'll make a motion to what the chairman has stated. For today, we will take a vote for the site itself,
Right.
and then we have staff and everybody rethink this route.
The only caveat I would say, and you'll get my vote for that, I think that's a good compromise, but I think you got to put some thought into how that barge is going to then leave that site and traverse. This is a perfect map. It is traversing the busiest waterways, especially in season, many times with unskilled boaters, and the largest thing that's going to be plowing through this area is going to be that barge fully loaded. So I don't know if it needs some sort of, like I said, police boat escort or something ahead to make sure there's not something in the way. A lot of kayakers are even out in this area, and they can't get out of the way of a barge. we have one accident, one fatality, a whole bunch of smart people are going to come in here and say, I can't believe nobody in this room was smart enough to make sure safety was the number one concern. And I think I know you have several loose safety items. So I'll support it. I know the barge isn't coming tomorrow, but I'm going to be like on top of this tight and very vocal. And I hope I don't have to be, because I hope as you work through those things, the voting on the trucks and everything, that should be a separate vote on our part. And it sounds like the chairman that's what he's suggesting, and I would concur with that. But I still think barge-wise, you guys got some loose ends that could result in a real tragedy.
All right,
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that passed unanimously. So you can use the facility, but there's a real need to make sure that the transportation issue is resolved, and our staff will work with you as well as the Marco Island staff to make sure that we have a safe approach both on land and also on the water.
Thank you very much. I made the same mistake, made the same misassumption that Commissioner had, that hoped it was a county road, and I was already planning how the gravel was going to go, and then I was told FDOT and an uncertain future. But we're going to explore all those opportunities and do our very best to make sure that we aren't able to, and necessary for us to traverse the Jolly Bridge. We appreciate your support for the
And Ms.
for the
Scott,
pier.
if you could report back to us as this evolves. All right, we're going to take a lunch break.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We got a lot of work to do this afternoon, but would 45 minutes be enough for lunch, or do we need a full hour? All right, let's come back at 1 o'clock.
That's 41.
Yeah. That's lunch.
39, but.